Good evening and welcome to night one of week one of the Naughty Racing League's third season. We're back! My name is Toon, and joining me in the broadcast booth is a new face to some and a familiar face to others, Leo. Leo, let me be the first to say, welcome to the commentary team. We are ecstatic to have you, buddy. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic, Tune. I'm thankful for the opportunity to be up here with y'all, and I can't wait to see what we've got in store for the next few nights.
Glad to hear it. Boy, oh boy, do we have an amazing season ahead of us. So let's take a look at Split 1 of Division A for this evening. So, for our Division A race, our drivers are at Barcelona, Catalunya, with no chicane for 18 laps in the NSX Concept GT 2016. They are going to be racing on the racing softs with a 11 times fuel wear and a 1-time fuel consumption, with a 5-minute qualifier, and heavy damage is on as is customary. Moving on over to the point spread across both splits for Division A. The driver with the fastest overall race time will receive 18 points, with the second and third place recipients receiving 17 and 16 respectively, and each subsequent place receiving one less point per placement, with bonus points for split wins, for a P2 for your split and a P3 placement, and also an extra bonus point for having the fastest lap. Moving on over to the driver lineup list. Listed on screen is our drivers lineup for Split 1, with their community teams and social media accounts listed right below. So starting off Split 1, we have Boogity Boogity, followed by The True Serum, then Gran Turismo, Fernando Button, GSR Shaggy Doo, Root, RWB Nav, also known as Nav Motorsport, Sparky, and Talon. This is going to be an amazing start to just this evening and the season as a whole. And I could not be more excited to be back and doing this. What are your thoughts, Leo? You had a little bit of time on track and everything. What
Yeah,
what are your thoughts with this GT2 NSX on Barcelona?
well, as you know, I'm a pretty big Honda guy. I've actually found myself kind of struggling with this car and this track combination. I've ran a few laps with all these guys all week long, and man, they are fast. They've put the time in. They have definitely worked out how to get this car around here. So I think it's gonna be a great race. I don't know what
Oh,
to
I
expect exactly, but it's gonna be great.
Oh, yeah. Well, as we do say here in the NRL, anything can happen. And I do not doubt that we are about to have an absolute stunner of a race. And I've done a few laps around here myself, and I mean, with me, it's a lot different than, say, with like you or any of our other world class drivers in this league. There are some parts here that do give me a bit of trouble, but I highly doubt that these drivers in this race are going to be feeling the same amount of pressure and have those same points of contention. But I don't know. What was the best time you were able to throw down on this?
I think the best time I was able to throw down was like a 1:34 and some change, and that was after going after it for about 30 minutes or so. I know coming into the hairpin turn and then immediately that little S turn, when if you get it wrong, you will spin out there. So,
You know what? That is actually a really good point. So now our drivers are off for the start of their 5 minutes of qualifying, but they will also have a 2-minute runoff. That way, anybody that's currently on a lap, as they are as the timer is running out, they will be able to just go and finish their lap and hopefully get a buzzer beater fastest lap for a P1. Now, these Group 2 cars, how downforce dependent are they? Because I never really raced Group 2.
I feel like they're pretty downforce dependent. Last season we had the Group 2 Audi. That was a fantastic machine, especially going around Monza. This NSX, I feel like it's super dependent on it. It hugs the road perfectly with all the downforce. But the downside is with the high tire wear rate, you start noticing it very quickly that it also goes through tires very fast.
So would tire preservation be something to be mindful of going into this?
Very much so. They will go very quickly and without you even noticing. If you're not paying attention to it, it will come up very quickly.
All right. Now, do you think we'll be seeing some victims to dirty air in this race?
I don't know that for sure. I'm not one that likes to stay behind people very long or give them space depending on what's going on. So I don't know about dirty air per se. It is a little bit better than the Audi that we drove last season. I will give it that though.
Well, I mean, that Audi last season had DRS, which is a very handy feature.
True, and this one does not, but I only time will tell, Toon. I don't know for sure.
Understandable. We've got Talon just currently having a nice... actually. Yeah, Talon is just dancing around that corner.
And yeah, he's making light work of it.
And it definitely raises the question with how many new faces we have here in the league for Season 3. Are we going to see some people make a breakthrough debut tonight? Are we going to see people kind of lure their competitors into a false sense of security? Maybe let them get nice and comfy, and then come time for a elimination round, they go and shatter expectations? There's so many questions that have to be asked when it comes to this ever expanding league. As we have Talon coming where the chicane should have been, and rounding the final corner to the start-finish straight to set his flying lap with a resounding 132.928. Outstanding work. Oh, and Shaggy comes in and sets a 132.644.
Yeah, Shaggy's a returning racer here. I mean, that man will push the car to its absolute limit, so he's going to be quick. I know Talon and Dan also might be just as fast, if not faster than him. So only time we'll see. I'm just saying, I've seen the times. I don't know if they were, just practicing and didn't want me to see what they were doing, but, I don't know. There's so many new faces that I can't keep track of all of them.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. But I don't know, Shaggy is a battle-hardened league veteran, and he's seen it all. He's had every kitchen sink thrown at him. So these guys definitely have big shoes to fill to try and keep up with some of our more established league racers.
Oh, and Shaggy just went purple there.
Yep. I think he thought his time was cute and wanted to go set a better one.
More than likely.
Took a generous amount of curb into that corner. Now, where are the track limits to be mindful of here? I know turn 1 is one that you've got to kind of be careful.
Yeah, as you're going through that chicane, you don't want to get too much on the curb. That can also cause the car to rotate more than you need to, slide it out pretty much from underneath you, and then off into the wall you go. Right. The very last turn, I know if you do that wrong, you'll just pretty much go sliding off into the gravel.
All right. As we take a look at the Truth Serum, who is holding a very nice line into the swooping right.
Ooh.
Coming into the braking zone, how will he fare? Ooh, he's got a purple 7,000th off. Boogity Boogity has lost traction and had a bit of a tank slap into the wall. Hopefully he can bounce
Oh,
back.
let's hope so. That's his season premiere here, so we'll see.
Yep. Let's take a look at what happened with Boogity Boogity. That's all right. I think we got a good enough view with Truth Serum's perspective. As we follow Boogity Boogity a little more, coming into the uphill section. Oh, this is another one where if you go a little too far, you'll get gravel, and I think you'll get a track limit penalty.
Correct, or you will go over that sausage curb there and completely just mess up your whole racing line.
Yeah. Also, that hairpin that Boogity Boogity just went through, my lord, I cannot get that down to save my life. I always run too wide.
It is very tricky. You've got to pretty much nail that thing in order to get out of that corner correctly. A lot of slowing down, more than you would think, just to go around that thing, and you got to be patient with it.
Yeah, it's a more technical corner than it leads itself to be. And it looks like our current pole sitter will be the Truth Serum.
Oh,
And the fastest lap for qualifying was set by S7R the Truth Serum with a 132.624, 200ths off of Shaggy Doo's fastest lap. That is blinding. That'd be a neck and neck finish. Yeah, wow, that is an impressive showing. I think we're in for some nonstop action. As we move down the list, we also see Gran Turismo set a 132.687, which is scarily close to Shaggy Doo's time. Then in P4, we will have Talon with a 132.928. P5 with Sparky with a 132.967. Wow, that's still close. Moving into P6, we have Root with a 133.286, still very close to Sparky's time. In P7, we have Boogity Boogity with a 133.738. And then in P8 with a nothing, we have Fernando Button. I think Fernando might be wanting to start from the back. That way he can get some clean air going into this and let any potential incidents, not that there will be any, because this is the Naughty Racing League after all. Our drivers are top tier, high caliber. But I could understand where Fernando's coming from with wanting to get some clean air for his racing.
I also can understand that as well. I mean, turn one can sometimes be disastrous, but with the guys that we have here, I wouldn't worry about it at all, really.
No, not at all. Cleanest bunch of racers that I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. Now, speaking of racers, it's just about time for our racers to start the race proper. And we will finally get split one of night one of the NRL underway. This is going to be very exciting to see. And honestly, this is anybody's game. And I love that. It's exciting. It's going to have me on the edge of my seat. And just 3, 2, 1. And are they going to go? They're off.
Lights are out. Let's go. Let's see what happens here.
Oh, yeah, we had some terrific starts from all the drivers, honestly. There was nobody that lagged behind. Everybody was ready. They had their foot just ready to go. They showed some good pedal discipline. Moving into turn one, though, we've got Gran Turismo right behind Shaggy Doo. They were actually quite neck and neck for a moment there.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of contact there for a hot second, but it's expected.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but things like that, it's not an important contact, as we see Talon trying to shoot up on the inside of Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
Looks like he fell back out for the braking zone. Good call. Oh, and Talon is taking the inside. How will Dan defend against this?
It's a very tricky corner to defend against. If you go in there with too much speed, you will, unfortunately, see the grass.
Oh, yeah, and I wonder how all of these drivers are adjusting their braking zones to accommodate for the cold tires that they have. I mean, it is a night track, so the tires will be regardless, but it's just colder than normal. As they're coming into the hairpin, held nicely in single file.
Maybe they're all waiting to get heat in the tires before they just start sending it. and seeing what happens.
Might be. We've got 18 laps of nonstop action ahead of us, and anything can and will happen in this league. Such a lovely sound hearing all those cars go by. So our current standings right now is the True Serum sitting in first. We've got Shaggy Doo in second, Dan in third, Talon in fourth, Sparky in fifth, Boogity in sixth, Fernando in seventh, and Ruth rounding out our racers for the evening. Now, if you will make note of the card in the bottom left corner of your screen, you will see the driver's information, their team, the transmission they are racing on, their hardware choice for their racing. So Fernando's in a Logitech G29, and right below that you will see their YouTube or Twitch links if they have either of those social medias. And Fernando is holding quite nicely. He's got a nice gap between himself and Root. Judging by the delta, he's losing a little bit of pacing to Boogity. But, and he has ran very wide. Will that result in a track limits penalty?
Yes, it will.
That is a half-second penalty that you do not want to see, but it's better to have... Fernando almost binned it, and he's yielding to let Root through. Good man.
I wonder when he went into the gravel if he got some of it on the back tires, and that's what made it loose. I did notice that while practicing with these guys. If you ended up going into that gravel, good luck having traction anytime soon. The rear end does like to come from underneath this car, like I've stated before. Right.
Now we're taking a look at Root, who is a free agent on a manual transmission using a good old-fashioned controller, and you can find him on YouTube at Route 131, and if my memory serves me correct, he's actually broadcasting this race as we speak.
That is correct. He definitely is.
Root is now just flying. Let's see how everything's looking up at the front of the pack. The True Series got a less than a second lead over Shaggy, and it does look like Dan does have a penalty.
I was just about to say that, Tune. I tuned right back into him.
Oh, let's see if he can put himself with enough... never mind. I don't think he'll be able to put enough a gap between himself and Talon. Coming up towards the penalty line for Gran Turismo. Will he hold firm or will he hop off the racing line? Hops off the racing line. Magnificent sportsmanship. Or was that the racing line? Who knows? Coming into the hairpin, too wide, but no contact, no incident whatsoever. Both drivers giving each other ample room to fit a $3 million house in between those two.
Yeah, that's the stuff you like to see right there. Giving each other enough space, enough room. It's fantastic.
It is fantastic, and if you take a look behind Talon, you can see that there's quite a nice single file going on with all of our drivers. Everybody's staying pretty nice and neatly bunched. This is anybody's race. I think some of the determining factors here will be who can hold off on their tire wear and who might have a better pit strategy. If memory serves me right, we do have a little infographic of potential, not all reasonable ones, but some potential pitting strategies. So if you take a look up at the top, there's some options here for a 5, 6, and 7 pit. Oh, and we had Sparky go off. Oh, what happened there?
No.
All right, coming in. Looking nice and neat so far. Did he just get too much curb? Oh, he ran wide.
Yeah, it looks like the wheel just stopped working on him. He's not moving at all.
Oh yeah, he's not budging.
No input, no nothing.
Oh yeah, that is a full disconnect. Was it his controller? Was it his wheel?
I believe Sparky is on a wheel, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's full disconnect or internet connection issue, maybe. I don't know for sure.
I think that one was all hardware, but I hope Sparky can get it rectified real quick, or at least get into a position where he can get himself into the pits to at least iron out what might be troubling him.
Now, Tune, I've been cycling through the field here, and everybody's tires are almost gone on the left front.
Really now?
Yes, everybody's. I was waiting to see if
That
one person standed out more than the others, but no, they're all gone on the left front.
that is insane. And we're only on lap 5, so will we see a 5-6-7 pitch strategy? Will we see a 6-6-6 strategy? Or are we going to see somebody by the name of GSR Shaggy Doo run a 9-9?
You know, if I was a betting man, I would probably bet on that for Shaggy. But, you know,
Yeah,
I can't be biased.
of course, but Shaggy's past results do speak for themselves. And the fact that he can run on completely dead tires, which I don't even think that's a skill you can teach. I think that's just God-given talent.
I 100% with you on that. I've tried once, and I will never do that again.
As we see Talon coming into the braking zone for the hairpin behind Shaggy. A little bit of a wide line, but all in all, everything seems to be running magnificently. His front left definitely has seen better days, and it looks like his back left is not too far behind. As we see 3 stay out. Wow. They're going to run those tires till they can't anymore. It's definitely a high-risk, high-reward situation for these drivers to go in and decide, okay, I'm going to hold firm on not pitting. I will run these tires until all 4 are completely dead and gone. Oh my lord, the Truth Serum actually still has tires. All the other competitors are either virtually gone or just gone, and somehow the Truth Serum has found a way to get both of his lefts to wear at an equal rate. That is impressive, and look at the gap it's afforded him to Shaggy.
That is very true. Although I am looking at the times, though, that he's been setting. They have come up a little bit from what he was, so I wonder if he was conserving them, wondering if people were going to start pitting as soon as possible. So that's it's an idea. That is.
Do you think that'll be a penalty, though? Or was he just... Nope. It was
No.
not just within limits. I thought we were going to see something. Now, as we see the True Serum come in for the penultimate corner, both of his lefts have just decided to clock out for the evening. And now on to the start-finish straight. What will it be with 2 dead tires? 36 on 2 dead tires. That's fantastic. Moving on over to Talon, who is in a heated battle right now for P2 with Shaggy Doo. Both of his lefts have also decided to call it an evening. Bye-bye. See you at the mess hall later. Coming into turn 1, though, he's holding that line quite nicely. He's pretty much driving like what dead tires?
Now I'm looking at Talon. His tires are it's definitely still there compared to Shaggy's, but you know.
Oh yeah, but I think Shaggy might be of the mindset of let's get these tires completely gone and have some fun. And I also see that Sparky and Fernando are in the pits, so Sparky was able to get his wheel reconnected. That is fantastic to see.
Oh, good.
We've got... Yeah, these two are going to be in a heated battle for as long as humanly possible. Although I do see Talon has traction control on. Do you think the traction control will play a factor in their tire wear?
I think so. It does kind of hinder you a little bit, but honestly, it helps you rotate the car. So if you can get that to do it by itself, it's not always a bad thing. I mean, me personally, I run it at 1 or 2 depending on where my tires are at. And I've seen people do that while practicing.
And jumping on over to Root, who's sitting comfortably in P6, has a mountainous lead in front of Fernando, and has a bit of an uphill battle catching up to Boogity Boogity, but it looks like is just comfortably and happily racing his own race right now. Magnificent line coming into the penultimate corner. And final turn, braking nicely, getting right onto that curb to slingshot out. That is what tons and tons of practice will result in. You'll love to see it.
And if you look at his times, they're starting to be more consistent every single time. I mean, the 134.8, 134.9, and it's coming down, but it's still in that 134s.
Ooh, Root got a little bit of wiggle onto that turn, though. He might want to be careful. As we got Root coming up into the braking zone. Keeping a tight line. Good. Accelerating out. Found his apex. Now shifting over for the first hairpin. Actually, would that be considered a hairpin?
I don't consider it a hairpin. It's more of a very tight corner to me, to be honest.
Okay.
The one going through the back of the track, that I consider a hairpin because you've got to come down to about 20, 30 miles an hour just to make it around. But that's just me.
Okay. No, that is a really good point. And it looks like Root's already on track to set another personal fastest lap. And Gran Turismo has gone into the pits. Root is moving on up to Boogity, who is currently 16 seconds behind Gran Turismo, but will easily close that gap as Dan is in the pits. And there was I believe, still about a 4 to 5, 4 second gap between himself and Root. Honestly, all of these drivers are making this look easy. They're just driving it with so much confidence and with such a flow that they make it look way easier than it is. These races are no joke, especially these Division A races. Oh my lord. These are the kinds of races that take dedication and repetition, and you just love to see how it pays dividends to really get in some proper practice. Now, Leo, we've seen pits on 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I think it's interesting. If you were racing and given these tire wear constraints, would you be running till your tires are completely gone, or would you have been pitting first lap like some of those, or first opportunity, like some of those that might have been? Oh, speaking of tires dead and gone, oh my lord, Shaggy has no tires to speak of and is still staying out. Now, oh wow, Talon still has just an inkling of life into his right tires though. So will that work to his advantage?
I will say the one practice lobby that I actually was racing against a few of the guys in, I went until my tires were dead and then passed. And I will tell you, that was some of the slowest driving I've ever did, and the most cautious, but that one stop may prove to be the go-to way.
You really think so?
I went from the back of the pack to the front and led for quite a few laps.
Oh lord. Okay. So who do you believe are going to be doing the one stoppers? Obviously it'll be Shaggy, it'll be Talon, but I think everybody else has pitted at least once so far.
Yeah, I believe them two are going to do the one stop and just go for it. I think Gran Turismo will be doing the 9 and 9 because he came in at lap 9, it looks like. Yes. And
just went purple. Now, if Dan can get out of traffic, he'll also be able to set a fastest lap for this race, and if he can maintain that, got a little squirrely though into that corner. But if he can get a fastest lap set and cemented, it will give him an extra point in the standings, which may be a make or break depending on how the rest of these races shake out. Now, I would also like to remind all of our viewers at home that this race is not an elimination race, nor is it a qualifying. The format for this season is the first 2 races, so this week and next week's series of races for both Friday and Saturday Divisions A and B are just pretty much points races, and then starting, I believe, the 3rd week of the race is when we will start making our first series of eliminations. And speaking of this league, for you viewers at home, I would just like to remind everybody that this league is community funded 100%. So any and all donations, super chats, super stickers, anything of the sorts gets funneled right back into the league for our lovely, lovely world-class drivers and everybody else who helps make this series possible. As we've got Talon and Shaggy still having a shootout for P1, is it going to continue to be a shootout for P1, or is this going to be the long game of chicken to see who will jump into the pits first? Because with how Shaggy's driving, I don't think he'll be going into the pits anytime soon.
You know, Toon, I'm pretty sure both of them are going to pit on lap 14. I have a sneaking suspicion on that. And they're just going to run it until they can't. But, however, I've seen Boogity Boogity and the True Serum catching up to their times ever so slightly, though.
And they're too wide coming into turn 1. Who's going to yield first? It looks like Boogity Boogity will back out, and the True Serum will take P3 for at least this moment.
Oh, the True Serum has fresher tires. I think he may just win. Yeah, he's got way better tires than Boogity Boogity.
Ooh,
oh yeah, look at this.
If the True Serum can keep this pace up, I think Talon and Shaggy should consider going into the pits pretty soon. Oh, he's already closed 2 seconds this lap, and
yeah, he's definitely going to catch up to them very quickly.
I think he'll be caught up to them before this lap is even over, because that time is just being chunked away. Because there's what, an 8-second gap?
Yeah, there's about an 8-second gap between Talon and the True Serum. And yeah, they're chopping that time down quickly.
Ooh, they've got to be feeling the pressure up at the front, like, very soon. As we see Gran Turismo coming in flying into that last turn onto the start-finish straight. Will he be able to get any slipstream off the True Serum? That way he's not left in the dust. It actually appears just a little bit. And
wow, look at that time coming down. It's coming down quick for the front.
Yeah, it's coming down quickly, and I think this is the perfect opportunity for Gran Turismo and the True Serum to pounce. And it looks like Shaggy's gap to Talon is getting a little bit tighter now. And if we take a look, they've been in a heater for what, the last 6 laps?
Yeah.
Oh,
now it's coming. Oh, wow.
Oh, Leo, are you looking at this? The gap.
Yeah,
the gap between Talon and the True Serum is dropping rapidly.
Yeah, it was 4 seconds now, or it was, and then went down to a 3.
Yeah, now it's a 3, and it's just dropping further. And they started the last lap with about an 8-second gap, and now it's 2 seconds. Wow.
Oh, they did not go in.
No, they did not. Oh,
boy. Are they going to try to finish it on dead tires?
Surely they can't. The True Serum's coming in like a missile right now, just flying up on them. And coming into turn 1, I think he's going to take P1 within the next series of turns.
I don't doubt you at all on that one. He has got the better tires. They've been progressively getting slower on their times. Um, and he's been getting progressively faster on his, so and he is
Yeah, he's
right
got
on them. He's now half second within them, so
yeah, because
I
he has a fastest lap right now of 1:33.119.
mm,
So obviously there is pace, and it is a blistering pace.
oh, he is on Talon.
Yeah. Ooh, easy. Give some
Ooh.
room. That was a little too close for comfort, but I'm glad everybody was able to get through it unscathed.
You know what
Now
I'm
coming,
amazed by? They're both on he's Talon and Shaggy are both on dead tires, and Talon's now gonna defend with dead tires. That is some amazing driving skill right there.
oh yeah, and coming into the hairpin, the True Serum is able to take P2 off of Talon's hands, and it looks like he's got his sights set on Shaggy, who is ever getting closer.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Dan is right behind Talon, wanting to pounce on that as well, and it looks like they're not going in still. They are gonna try to finish this race on dead tires, Talon and Shaggy. So we'll see what happens here.
And True Serum is slingshotting past Shaggy like he's standing still, or at least attempting to. Oh wow, that is a neck and neck race.
Oh.
Coming in too wide into turn one. Shaggy Doo yields in for turn two, and Dan Turismo is not too far behind them at all. I think we could see Dan Turismo taking a podium off of one of those two here in the next couple seconds. Now,
Yeah,
Dan's tires
I have a
are
sneaking
looking a little
suspicion
worse for
on that
wear.
one. Yeah, they're getting worn down pretty good, but well, yeah, he's gonna have to push his. He can push his car on the right hand side or the right hand turns, which would be very important because the guys in front of him don't have any grip whatsoever. Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
through the left hand turns. I apologize.
And it looks like Dan Turismo is going to be taking P3 from Talon for this moment. Runs a teensy bit wide, but should be neat and tidy. No penalty, that I believe. Coming into the braking zone for the hairpin. Getting closer and closer to Shaggy. Will he be able to snag P2 by the end of this lap? Shaggy's tires are, well, I believe there's an obituary in your local paper for their tires.
Yeah,
Coming
they're donezo. They're screaming
Yep.
by this point.
Coming into the final turn, Shaggy is still racing like there's nothing wrong, and was able to increase the gap he had to Dan Turismo. That is, you can't
How?
teach it. You can't teach it. Shaggy is.
No, he's just got that talent.
I don't know how he does it. It's a mystery. Now moving on over to Dan Turismo, it looks like his gap between himself and Talon is getting a little tighter, but I don't think it's too much to worry about as we take a look at the onboard cam. Lovely camera angle. Coming into the slow bit, and will Dan Turismo be able to catch up to Shaggy Doo?
I believe he will. I would also probably think Dan's thinking I should probably just stay out and not pit for this next go around, even though my left side of my tires are gone pretty much, but I have seen him getting a little squirrely, so I don't know if he's prepared for that or not.
That was a little squirrely indeed. It looks like everything is business as usual for the hairpin, and yeah, it's looking pretty nice and tidy up here. There's clean battling, but it's also heated battling. They're trying to get these positions, and they're doing an amazing job of it too. Like, yeah, if you take a look at the True Serum, he's pretty much gone. Like, just looking at the map, yeah, he's got a 5, almost 6-second lead over P2. At this rate, he can just consider this a time trial. Both of his lefts are gone, though, but still has a ton of tire life left on the right. So I don't think True Serum's going to be heading into the pits anytime soon. Coming into the right-hander. Still keeping it neat and tidy. Finding that nice apex and slingshotting on out. Yeah, no. True Serum is just dancing around this circuit. It's like he found his rhythm with this car. And my hat's off to him. It's very hard to get into a comfortable rhythm with a new car.
Well, like we've talked about before, you put so much time, and once you get going in the race, you get more comfortable. It's getting towards the end. Dan's got the True Serum got a pretty good, decent lead on everybody, so he doesn't have to stress as bad. But still got to be mindful. The race is still going.
It is, and it is still anybody's race. These fantastic laps could pretty much be besmirched by one horrible lap, and we've got Dan Turismo right back up on Shaggy Doo's tail. But
yeah, I saw him give him a little bump there.
But what will Dan have to do to be able to get past Shaggy in this upcoming final lap? Because it seems that Shaggy is getting a fantastic exit out of these corners, where the tire life is probably benefiting Dan somewhat. Yeah, oh my lord, Shaggy really just did a no-stopper. Oh my lord.
I'm somehow not shocked, Toon. It's Shaggy.
I should stop being shocked, but it's mesmerizing. We didn't see Talon or Shaggy go into the pits once. I think those GSR guys, they're definitely built different. If you take a look at just Shaggy right here and our reigning NRL champion Mullet, both from Grove Street Racing, they are on a totally different level when it comes to strategies. I would not have expected a no-stopper, but looks like it wasn't enough. Dan shot up the inside of Shaggy. Fantastic, just made the clutch moment that he needed. Can he hold on to it for the remainder of this lap? Coming down into the hairpin, will Dan defend properly? He's holding. He got a good run.
He got it.
Yep. It looks like P2 might be Dan's if he can continue that momentum.
So long as he gets that last turn onto the long straight, yeah, it should be all right.
Speaking of last turn on the long straight, here we go. To claim the checkered flag is X7R to True Serum. Coming in for P2, it will be Dan Turismo. Oh, maybe not. Oh, just if that starting line was just a little further back, Shaggy could have had a run and just taken from him in a photo finish. Moving on down into P5, Boogity as a solid lead over Root, so I believe Boogity will be finishing this race in P5. And nice and neatly across the line, no penalties to speak of. Root sitting comfortably in P6. Moving on down to Fernando Button, who is just now rounding the corner for the final time. Coming on to the start-finish straight, will he finish strong? 34, 35, 36. Finishing with a 137.228 for his final lap. And now moving on to Sparky, who actually was lapped traffic. Through no fault of his own, mind you. A hardware failure can happen at any moment to anybody. And it is tragic to see, but excellent showing nonetheless from Sparky. Now let's all give a congratulations to our victor for Division A Split 1, S7R to True Serum. Moving over to the tabulated results. In P1, we have S7R to True Serum with a total race time of 29 minutes, 3 seconds, .259, who also was our fastest lap recipient for this race with a 133.119. Coming in P2 is Dan Turismo with a personal fastest lap of 133.527. And very, very close behind him, was GSR Shaggy Doo with a total race time of 1:33.916. Coming in at P4 with a personal fastest lap of 1:33.680 is Talon, the other of the no stoppers in this race. Rounding out our top 5 will be Boogity Boogity with a personal fastest lap of 1:33.389. Coming in P6 with a personal fastest lap of 1:34.083 is Root. And in P7, we have Fernando Button with a personal fastest lap of a 1:34.653. And then rounding out our drivers for Split 1 is Sparky with a personal fastest lap of 1:33.302. Now, given the hardware issues, if Sparky hadn't had those hardware issues, and again, not his fault by any means, I believe Sparky would have had an absolute amazing race.
Yeah, it's unfortunate when that happens. You never expect it. I've gotten into my rig and my wheel just shuts off for no reason. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Or I'm in the middle of a race and it does. So it's unfortunate because he would have been up there. I believe he would have been.
Yeah, and knock on wood, I don't suffer the same fate with any hardware malfunctions anytime soon. It's quite a scary thing to think about, especially if you're having the race of your life. But either way, that was a fantastic race from everybody. And speaking of the race and our racers, please welcome into the commentary booth for the post-race interview, Grove Street Racing Zone, Shaggy Doo. How you doing, Shaggy?
All right, y'all got me?
Got you, loud and
Yes,
clear.
sir.
Omaha. Oh wait, I'm not
Omaha.
wrong. Yeah, wrong GSR. But no, that was a tiring race, honestly. But I didn't have the pace on the sauce. Like I'm notorious for having bad tire wear, so you get what you get. But so I was like, I've been practicing a no stopper. I figured, what the hell? And
Yeah. Oh, honestly, what compelled you to do a no stopper?
well, me. So it's kind of my thing to think outside the
Yeah.
box, or basically just, I don't know, throw the box away. I never use it, but honestly, I didn't use the box. No box, box, box. I just don't.
You
And
know what? Fair enough. Leo, do you have any questions for our third place recipient?
Shaggy, I've seen you race a few times, and I don't know how you do with the no tires. I just don't understand it. How you can keep the car under control and with enough traction and stuff like that to not spin out. That's the only question I've got.
Oh, how does he keep the car under control with no tires whatsoever?
Correct.
For this one, I needed a little bit of TC. I ran TC the whole time. That way, I had the feeling, beforehand, instead of running without it and then changing to it. It kind of messes up, what you're doing after a little while. But it also helps the tire wear, which just doesn't help me much, and keeps the car balanced. So once I got to where I had no tires, I'd been practicing basically the same lap. I did it last night. I ran the same lap about 12, 13, 14 times in a row. You saw it in that race. And I practiced that last night. I was like, I can try this. I don't even care if the one stop is faster. I'm going to do this, So
That makes perfect sense. So before we let you go, is this just a sneak peek of some of the shenanigans you're gonna wind up trying to pull off in this season, or was that just more of a reminder that you're here?
that's a little bit of everything. It's really just a sneak peek. I don't know what McNaughty's got planned, but I'm going to, take whatever and run with it. And probably make it look crazy and have you yelling and in need of alcohol or water or whatever, to quench your thirst. And because it's going to be exciting, I'm going to try to make it exciting anyways.
We do love seeing it in action. Thank you so much for your time, Shaggy. We'll see you in the next one.
Oh yeah, thank y'all. Y'all were great. Keep it up.
Now, moving on over to our second place sitter, we have Dan Turismo. Dan, how are you feeling after that?
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we
Loud and
can.
clear.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing good, doing good. Glad to be back. How are you feeling?
Great, man, great. That was a really fun race.
So, going into this league, because if memory serves me right, this is your debut season, is it not?
Yeah, this is the first time I've gotten a chance to get in it. I missed the signups last season, so I try to make sure I set aside some time for this.
Right. So, given this is your first showing and experience with the Naughty Racing League, what are your thoughts on the car and track combination that you just went head to head with for this race?
Usually I'm not the biggest fan of Catalunya for some reason. I just can't really get into it, but this Group 2 car, the NSX, and the track tonight was really fun. It was, I don't know if it's the downforce of the Group 2 cars, but it got a really nice flow to it.
All right. That's actually really good to hear. I too am also not the biggest fan of Cataluna. Now, Leo, do you have any questions?
Yeah, actually I do. Towards the end of the race, did you think about maybe pitting when your tire started going and you were chasing them down, or you just said, "I'm gonna send it and let's go"?
I was looking at the times to the lead as soon as I came out of the pits, and it wasn't going to be worth it to pit again. So I was at that point, I think I was dedicated to just stick in it and ride them to the rims.
I don't blame you there on that one at all, and I'm also not a huge fan of Catalunya, but hey, you did good though.
No, I
Oh
appreciate it.
yeah.
No, it was a lot of fun. It's good racing against people that I don't usually get to race with in the daily races and stuff. So this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and speaking of the like racing action you had, you were in a battle for P2 with Shaggy for quite some time. What were your thoughts while you were having that head to head?
I wasn't sure if I could even get by him. Every time I tried to put the power down, it just started wiggling and squirming. At one point, I almost went into the back of him. I don't know if we touched. It was really close. And I kind of backed off a little bit. I'm like, I don't want to crash both of us out I'll sit back for a little bit and catch my breath. But it was tricky getting by him. I know I had a little more grip than him, but I was getting used to losing grip, and he was like had it lost grip laps ago, I'm sure. So he was kind of used to how his car was driving. I was finding out new limits every time I pressed the gas pedal. It seemed like.
Right. Well, thank you so much for your time and welcome to the NRL. Can't wait to see what lies ahead of you in the weeks to come.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for putting all this on. I'm looking forward to next week.
Have yourself a great night.
Yeah, later, guys.
And moving on to our final interview for the moment, we have the winner of Split 1 for Division A, the one, the only, the Truth Serum. How are you doing, sir?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So you had an amazing one-stop race. When we saw you were on fresh tires, you were getting ready to move through Talon and Shaggy as though they were just standing still. Your pace was amazing. How much practice have you put in over the past week?
Um, I would say probably a regular amount for me, which is a fair bit. I started off by figuring out the combo, and I quickly figured out that um, two stops and one stop were going to be very close, but that at the end of the day, even though I was on pole, I was still going to go one stop because it was less risky in case you get caught in traffic and stuff like that. You're running a slower but still fast pace, so you're not as likely to take a chance. So I was surprised to be on pole. I kind of brought that lap out of my butt, like at the last moment in quali. Um, I was really surprised when I saw Shaggy and I think Talon were doing a no stop. I was like, for a second I was like, did I miss something? Did I screw up in my testing? You know, but I stuck to it and it worked out.
It sure does look like it worked out in your favor. You were just having a blistering pace.
Yeah, and you know what? I've been driving on this track a lot recently because I have some other series where we're practicing here, not with this car, but that certainly helped as well, I think.
All right, Leo, do you have any questions?
How excited were you to see that time start coming down to Shaggy and Talon towards the end of the race?
I was very excited because it was confirmation that my strategy was correct. It was coming down at the right pace. Um, I was just worried that somehow they figured out how to be, reasonably fast on the ball tire. Um, I didn't find any way to avoid being on ball tires, even on any strategy. Like you were going to have to drive on a ball tire unless you wanted to go painfully slow. So, but anyways, I was really happy, and I was able to get through them, with reasonable ease because they're experienced drivers um, and don't do crazy things. So I could tell where to go.
Yeah, definitely
Right.
agree with that.
Well, final question, and then we will let you go for the evening.
Okay.
So, with your debut into this league and seeing what you just had to go toe to toe with, do you have high hopes for your performance for the season?
You know what? I'm going to approach it the way I always approach everything with racing is I'm going to assume that every single guy I go up against is better than me, and then I'm going to prepare accordingly because I know like guys like Dan's really fast. Like I've raced him in like FIA races and things like that recently. So, I think a lot of this is going to depend on the combo in the car. Some guys are going to be really comfortable and are going to be really alien on some combos. So, you know, I think like for me getting the win is like a gravy or like a cherry on top, and if I can just be consistent, it'll be good because I know there's fast guys. I know in the other split too there's a bunch of really fast guys. My teammate Slipstream's fast. There's mullets over there, like anybody could win really.
Right, right. I do like the humble approach to it. Well, thank you so much for your time, True Serum. I can't wait to see what this season has in store for you. Welcome to the league, and have yourself a great rest of your evening.
Yeah, thanks Ford. Looking forward to it. Hope some crazy combos come. Bring on the insane combinations. See ya.
All right. Now, please stay tuned while we take a brief intermission, and we will be right back with some more racing action as we go in for our Division B race. Welcome back. Now it is time for us to get to our Division B race. Let's see what they will be up against this evening. For tonight's festivities in Division B, our drivers will be at Deep Forest Raceway for 17 laps in the Genesis X Group 3, which just recently received a balance of performance change in the latest updates, so these times might be different than what the drivers were expecting during practice. They will be on the racing softs with a 5 times tire wear rate and no fuel consumption, and they will also have a 5-minute qualifier with light damage. Moving on over to our point spread. There's only one split for tonight's Division B race, so these points will only pertain to this evening's race for Race B. And they are as follows. The fastest total time in Division B for tonight will receive 18 points, followed by 17 for the second fastest. And then the third fastest will receive 16 points, with every subsequent placement receiving 1 point less. Our split winner will receive 5 points, with the runner-up receiving 3, third place with 1 point, and our fastest lap will get a 1 point bonus for finishing the race with the fastest. For our driver lineup for Division B, we will be seeing, we have Beef Castle, followed by Bells, Jay Smith, Jack PHG SVG 15, Jay, Lewis, M. Marino, PHG Papa, also known as Papa from Papa's House of Games. We have PHG Speedy Lee, Purple Nurple 88, Redneck C137, Skeletor 698, Smokes VR6V, and YouTube Average Kurt Games. This is going to be a loaded split, folks, and it's going to be nothing short of delightful to see. Now, Leo, you've spent some time on this tire and track combination like I have, and I did it before the BOP change. Did you do any practice post-update, so within like the last 24 hours?
Yeah. Actually, I think I did it the day that the update came out, so that would have been yesterday, I believe. I did run it, and I personally did not see any difference with the car. I'm not in tune to what got changed and what has been changed. Um, I was running pretty similar times, maybe within a half second of what I had. Um, then again, I'm not very strong with the Genesis, unfortunately.
All right, so the drivers really shouldn't expect anything too drastic in terms of times. Now, speaking of times, it's about time we go and take a look at the qualifying for this race. And there's definitely going to be a lot of head-to-head racing because these cars and this track do afford it. And never mind the fact that we have exponentially more drivers in this, and PHG Speedy Lee has a penalty already for a pit lane violation. Good thing this is the outlap, so technically it doesn't count.
Yeah, it's very easy to do that here on this track. You come out of that pit lane, you're like, oh, I want to get on so quickly because you can't see the line. And there you go. That's how you pick up a 3-second penalty.
But honestly, this car and track combination really affords a good amount of head-to-head racing. I do remember in one of the practice lobbies, you and Jay were having a good little heater going on between you two.
That we were.
As we see Jack PHG SVG coming in to the hairpin and flying right on out. And Jack did have a lobby up last night, did he not?
Yes, actually he did. I was in there with them. That's how I was seeing if anything changed with the bop that you told me about. Like I said, I didn't notice anything specifically different with the car. But I'm not a avid Genesis person, so I don't know for sure.
That's perfectly understandable. As you can see, Jack PHG SVG 15 is a member of the illustrious Papa's House of Game racing team on a manual transmission with a Thrustmaster T150, and you can find him on YouTube at Jacket Trades 0911. As he's coming into this open left-hand or right-hander, my apologies, and out through the tunnel, he's having some really good pace on him. And coming down into the hairpin, how will he fare? That was masterful. That is just a great showing of how practice and repetition can make any race just seem like clockwork. Coming into the time check, had a 55. That's a really good time, actually.
Yeah, I know, what was it, yesterday or the day before, he was not having a good time in this thing, and I guess maybe he has figured that out by now, because he is doing excellent here.
Maybe he was lulling everybody into a false sense of security or something. As we take a look at PHG Speedy Lee, is also a member of Papa's House of Game on a manual transmission, and has a Thrustmaster T300 RS TLCM pedals with the load cell braking. And you can find him on YouTube at _BuddyLee. That was a little, should have given some more space. I don't know. And it looks like our current fastest lap is being held by the proprietor of Papa's House of Game himself, Papa, with a 126.693. Papa is setting the bar high, and I do know Papa has been putting a lot of effort into this, and sets another purple, almost a quarter second off his fastest lap as is. Now if Papa could just get around M. Marino to carry on with setting another blistering lap, I think he'll be sitting with a nice pull for this race. Magnificent run out of there, and here is the driver card for PHG Papa, the man, the myth, the legend himself, who is on a manual transmission using a Logitech G29. You can find him at YouTube at Papa's House of Game, all one word. Now into the hairpin, has to run a little to the right to avoid colliding with M. Marino in the hairpin, but will that benefit him? Oh, we saw somebody having a picnic over there at the hairpin.
Yeah, look like it was Beef Castle that got a little loose in that hairpin there.
As we've got Papa approaching the start-finish straight, what will it be? 25, 26? With a new personal fastest lap, but was not able to snag himself a pole position because Jay Smith, my apologies, is currently sitting with a 126.271, but I think Papa has just enough time to go in and try once more for a pole position. The checkered flag is out, so we are now into the 2-minute runoff, which means pretty much everybody will get to run one last lap, and then that's it. We'll get ready to run our race. Moving on down towards the bridge, Jay Smith taking a nice line and an exit from that left-hander, and just gunning it through the tunnel. I think he'll be able to pass quite a couple people, depending on if he can get all that slip in him. Moving on through down towards the hairpin. Took a nice braking line and following through the hairpin. Oh, and it seems we have somebody with a half-second track limit violation. Always a good idea to get those out of the way now before the actual race starts. And Luis is in the pits. Coming up towards the start-finish straight, what will he end on? He ends on a 1:26.654. As we wait for the rest of our competitors to come on through, we'll see if there's any changes in the standings. And Redneck C137 is crossing the line with a 1:27.1. I believe that's just about all of our competitors, is it not? All right.
I believe so.
That was a great qualifying session. You can definitely see that there's been a lot of practice put in for this race.
Oh, tons. I've seen lobbies up 24/7 for all of them, really, but specifically, I've seen this one more than my fair share.
I think it's also really nice to see that so many members of the same racing team are in this. Now, moving on to the tabulated results, starting pole for this race will be Jay Smith with a best lap of 1:26.271. And following very close behind, just a little over a quarter of a second, is PHG Speedy Lee with a 1:26.540. And very, very dangerously close behind Speedy Lee is Papa himself with a personal fastest lap of 1:26.648. Rounding out in P4 will be Bells with a 1:26.878. And rounding out our top 5 will be Jay with a 1:26.909. Coming in P6, we will have Skeletor with a 1:26.986. In P7, we have Lewis with a 1:27.022. Coming in P8 for our starting grid will be Redneck C137 with a 1:27.1 dead. Always nice to see that. Moving on over into P9, we have Purple Nurple 88 with a 1:27.123. And rounding out our top 10 will be M. Marino with a 1:27.410. And then in P11 is Beef Castle with a 1:27.743. Very close. And then in P12, we've got Jack PHG SVG 15 with a 1:27.926. And in P13, we have Smokes VR6V with a 1:28.246. And then rounding out our starting lineup for this will be YT Average Kurtz Games with a 1:28. That was a fantastic qualifier. And if that's what we're going to see from just the qualifier, I cannot wait to see how this plays out. Now, I should also inform you folks at home that Division B will be a rolling start as opposed to a grid start with a false start check. So instead of jumping off the line, it'll just be a rolling start. When it says go, they go. And that rolling start could be beneficial to some, could be detrimental to others. It all depends on how Polyphony has set up the rolling starts. Leo, do you happen to know how the rolling start works in this one? Do you know like where everybody kind of spits out?
I don't think there's anything specifically wrong with the rolling starts here. No one's starting into like a weird hairpin situation. They all pretty much go down the straight and then away we go. Yeah, there's not at this track specifically. I know at a few others a rolling start can make or break your race there.
Alrighty. And they are off coming into turn 1. Jay Smith taking an inside line, now coming in for the braking zone and holding it nicely. Ooh, Speedy Lee's getting really close. He's already trying to put that pressure on, and he's doing it early.
Yes, he is.
Jay Smith with a fantastic run through turn 1 into turn 2. Coming into turn 3, keeping it nice and neat. And into turn 4 in the braking zone, up into the tunnel. Very nice, with the first time check being a 30-second .4. And there's already some side-by-side action coming out of the tunnel, coming downhill section. I don't know how much Jay Smith is gonna have to defend, but I think Speedy Lee should also be mindful of the fact that Papa is right up on his tailpipes.
And you know, as I'm going through the field here, I am noticing one thing I have never seen in the dailies.
And that
That
is,
no one is off the track yet. That is amazing.
you know what? That is a fair point. But then again, our racers for the NRL are built different. They've been through it all. They know how it works. They put in the time, the effort, the repetitions, and Bells comes in and takes P3 off of Papa's hands in the hairpin.
Oh, we got to spin out with Jack Skeleton.
Who spun out? Jack spun out?
P14.
Let's take a look and see what happened. All right, we see Jack coming into the hairpin. Oh, a little bit of a nudge with Smokes, and around he goes. That is unfortunate. I think he may not have realized that Jack was there, or that Smokes was there, but that is for our stewards to decide. And Jack is back on into the race and moving on up to Bells, who is right behind Speedy Lee. I think we're going to be seeing quite a bit of action up at this front of the pack. Now, Bells is a free agent on an automatic transmission using a Fanatec DD Pro. Fancy! Getting right up and close to the Armco for that sharp left-hander and belting it out, trying to stay up to speed with Speedy Lee and Jay Smith. But it looks like Papa had an astounding run out of that sharp left-hander because he is gaining on him right now. Now they're moving into the braking zone for the hairpin. Where will he brake? Looks like just around the banister. And it looks like Papa is trying at the hairpin to overtake, but could not get it sorted fast enough. Luckily, there is still 15 more laps of racing action. Now, Leo, I did also notice that the common strategy for this was a no-stopper. Do you think everybody's going to be doing that? Or do you think we'll be seeing somebody pitting at least once?
Me personally, I would be going for the no-stop. That was something we hadn't discussed yet, was the tires. And they're good for right now, but lap 7, lap 10, you'll start to notice when they're going to fall off real quickly. But the no-stop is definitely the preferred strategy. Could you do a stop? Yes. I don't know for sure.
I don't either. I know the man we are watching right now, Jay, who is a free agent on a manual transmission, also using a Fanatec DD Pro, who can also be found on YouTube at JayTheJesus, 8216, I believe, has been practicing running a no-stop. I know when you and him were having that shootout, neither of you guys pitted, and it was magnificent to see.
Yeah.
And it looks like Jay is starting to slowly gain on Papa, but Skeletor's hot on his tails.
Yeah, me and Jay have had some pretty good practicing and stuff like that. He was a pretty close competitor with me last season, and it was a great time. So I'm very interested to see how he does here.
As we take a look at the bumper cam for Skeletor 698, who is a free agent on a manual transmission using the Fanatec DD Pro, and you can find him on YouTube at KingTR84. Skeletor, from what I've seen, is incredibly fast. I think given the right lap, he can definitely overtake a few positions. Oh, and Papa has spun out. Would we be able to get a replay of what happened to Papa?
P11.
All right, as we see Papa coming into the braking zone for the right-hander, let's see what might have went wrong. Oh, I think the power oversteer got him on that one.
That's what it looked like to me too. It looks like he just gave it too much goose, and round you win.
Thank goodness for the ghosting, otherwise that could have been way worse. Coming into the hairpin, Papa is going to try and catch up as we move on up to Speedy Lee, coming onto the start-finish straight, still behind Jay Smith, but just. Jay Smith trying to get Speedy Lee out of his slipstream for a moment and coming into the turn one. Taking a nice and tight line, holding it defensively, magnificent work. And looks like he got a really good runoff out of there. He might be able to extend his lead. As they come into turn 3 before the sharp right-hander in turn 4. Fantastic run, and I was not aware that there was a risk of power oversteer coming out of that first tunnel.
Yeah, I've experienced that while practicing with these guys. This car also, like the previous car that we were just in, will get very slidey in the rear end, especially when the tires start fading, which they are starting to. Not as aggressively as the last race, but nevertheless, they are starting to go, and if you're not prepared for it to happen, then that's when the unfortunate happens.
Now let's go take a look at Purple Nurple, who is in a nice train right now, right behind Lewis, but just ahead of Marino, and just sent it up on the inside of Lewis, and was able to take P6 off. Now, looking at Purple Nurple, he is a free agent on a manual transmission using a Fanatec DD Pro, and you can find him on YouTube at JimmyBeans88. Coming across the start-finish line with a lap time of a 1:27.745. As you can see behind him, there is a nice little side-by-side action going on coming into turn 1. I think you can't count any of these racers out. They're all in it. There's just even disbursements of battling going on between this pack and the pack of 4 up ahead.
And you know, Toon, this track does lend to very good tight racing. It can get a little spread out sometimes, but usually it's pretty close racing, and the hairpin at the end of the long backstretch is a make or break kind of corner. It can either lend its speed to you or it cannot. So
Right. And if you're coming into that hairpin and you're in someone's slipstream, as M. Marino is right now with Purple Nurple, that can get a little dicey in and of itself.
it can, because it will pull the car towards the other one if you're not careful. In a very rapid rate where you cannot predict when to brake for your braking point.
As they're coming up into the start-finish straight, will M. Marino have enough of a run to be able to take P6 from Purple Nurple going into turn 1? And it does not look like it as Purple Nurple goes and takes the inside line, but he might be able to overtake him on the outside. Only time will tell, and oh, they're side by side for this. Somebody's going to have to yield coming up into this next turn. And it looks like M. Marino has yielded. Good call. Moving on over to Lewis, who's currently trying to shake off Redneck C137. Ran a little wide, got a bit squirrely, but everything seems to be working just fine. Lewis is a free agent on a manual transmission using a controller with a PSVR2 headset. You can find him on YouTube at Lewis KD Lopez. Ooh, I thought he was going to tap the wall there for a second.
It definitely did look like he was about to. Maybe Toon, have you messed with the VR stuff much?
No, because that requires the PS5, and I don't have that money. Coming into the time check, he sets a 55.
I even have a PS5 and I don't have that money.
Yeah, that requires money for Rich Toon, and Rich Toon is not here right now. Please leave a message. Down into the hairpin, taking a nice run out. Didn't go too far, didn't go too narrow. Looked like that was an ideal line for coming out of that hairpin and having a great run out. And although it's kind of looking like M. Marino and Purple Nurple had just a slightly better run out because that gap is getting ever larger. But it looks like Papa is coming in hot.
I was just about to say Papa is making ground up quickly from that incident earlier. He is bound and determined to get back up there, and I have a sneaking suspicion he will.
Right, and as we're approaching the halfway point of this race, anything can and probably will happen. So I don't think any of these drivers can get too comfortable yet.
I definitely would be. I'd still be on my guard because there's, like you say, anything can and will happen.
And especially because Papa is right behind Lewis. Lewis is gonna really have to figure out a good way to defend because Papa is a lot better than everybody gives him credit for. As we're moving on to Redneck C137, who had a slightly less than ideal run out of that left-hander, but is still in contention for P9 to take away from Papa. And
Yeah,
as we saw... Oh, somebody else?
Unfortunately, Papa ran wide there at the hairpin and couldn't make the move on Lewis there, but it's still hot on his tail.
I don't think it'll be a matter of if, but when. With Papa's pace and how he is just presenting himself in this, it's a matter of when, not if. Moving on to Redneck C137, though, he is a free agent with the automatic transmission on a Fanatec DD Pro racing wheel. A lot of people have that DD Pro.
That they do. I'm starting to see it's become more popular.
Maybe it's just because they got restocked. I'm not sure. I think I don't know. I'm quite liking this Logitech, so I might buy the Logitech equivalent if they have a direct drive wheel. But and Beef Castle has spun out. Wonder what happened there. Alrighty, Beef Castle coming into the turn. Did he suffer the same fate? He did.
He did.
Beef Castle
did.
suffered the same power oversteer fate as Papa did. That is a risky zone. Now, are there any other zones that we should be aware of that might be on the dicier side?
Yes. Coming from turn 1 into the S's there. If you happen to get on the sausages that are on the left S, going into the sharp hairpin turn into the tunnel, that will upset the car greatly, and you will be facing the wall very quickly.
All right. And as we take a look at YouTube's average Kurt Games, he is a free agent with a manual transmission on a Logitech G29. You can find him on YouTube at Average Kurt Games, all one word. And did I notice the Detroit Lions livery on that car?
I'm thinking...
I think so.
I think so too. I'm not privy on the NFL as much, but I'm thinking that's what it is.
And they have an NFC Championship game this weekend, which is a legitimate shock. Coming into the tunnel, was able to hold. And I'm just getting word from productions, just like the Browns and the Texans, the Lions have never been to the Super Bowl. That's shocking. That is legitimately shocking. Coming into the braking zone for the left-hander. We're talking about the wrong sport here. Coming in the left-hander, getting a good runoff. And Average Kurt Games could have used a little more track, but that was still a pretty decent runoff nonetheless. Coming into the time check with a 56.568. Moving on up the grid. Let's see how everybody's doing. So Jay Smith is now in 4th with Speedy Lee in 1st. Bell's in 2nd, Skeletor in 3rd, and Jay in 5th. Seems like Jay is sitting quite comfortably there, but he is slowly but surely catching up. I think some of these people might be playing the long game, and those of you that are watching, please reference the graphic up above in the top center of your screen. You will see that the 2 pit strategies that we can think of at the moment are a 9 and 9, or 9 and 8, my apologies, running a 9 and 8, or just running the tires with a no stopper. And as it's appearing, Jay Smith is getting very squirrely. He might want to dial it back a little bit. But as we can see so far, nobody's gone into the pit. I think everybody in here is going to be running a no stopper. But the big question will be, who can run it better? Who has put more practice in on a no stopper? That is what we will find out over the course of the next 6 laps. Looks like the times are starting to dwindle a little bit because of the tire wear, though. So, will we see more of the tires? Oh, wow. Taking a look at tires, Jay's still sitting fantastic on tires. He might have the opportunity to pounce and get a couple places here in a minute.
Yeah, that's the thing is do you go full out and kill the tires within the first 10 laps, or do you actually play it safe and keep them around for a while and then pounce when you can?
Judging by Jay's lap times, that might be what he's doing because he's setting consistent 127s.
Yeah, the last lap is a 127.039. That's the fastest he's gone so far. So I wonder if he's going to start pushing this lap.
I honestly think when it comes to races of this caliber, you definitely want to prioritize consistency of lap times over trying to go and set an absolute blinding lap, because that blinding lap may only happen once every 50 laps, but if you can get consistent in your lap times like Jay has, it's definitely a possibility. You could pull an upset and swoop the victory off of somebody at the last moment, because that gap between Skeletor and Jay is getting a lot smaller. And Skeletor using Bell's slipstream, but Bell's closing the door. Will Skeletor send it up the inside? He will, just though. Oh, and Skeletor lost it a little bit, but was able to save it indeed. And Jay is able to say, ta-ta, thank you for the P4. Have a good day. I will see you later. And Skeletor now has to hold off M. Marino to keep his P5 position. But it looks like Marino is on quite a good run out of that hairpin. And as we see Skeletor come into turn 1, looks like he outbroke himself, but just. Marino's able to over to the left of him, and Skeletor's able to bounce back and take a defensive line. Will Jay be able to hold onto his position, though, because Skeletor is coming in hot. Moving in towards the tunnel, moving down the grid, actually, to Purple Nurple, who is on Marino's tail and is now having to fight off Papa, who is slowly but surely making his way up the grid. And P2 and P8 are also quite close. This has actually been a very close race from the get-go. Like, barring any incidents that have happened with people spinning out or things of that nature, this has been a very close race. So I think in the weeks coming, Division B is going to be very, very exciting. As we go too wide into the hairpin. Oh, you love to see it, but Bells loses it a little bit, and Jay has a half-second track limit penalty. Coming on down towards the penultimate corner for the start-finish straight. What will it be? Who had the best run out of there? Because we're seeing side-by-side. We're seeing single file. We're seeing everybody all over the place trying to get positions. There is 3 laps left in this Division B race, and it is exciting to see. Oh, can Bells take it from Jay Smith? No, he cannot.
Yeah, this is where you're going to start seeing everybody start pushing as hard as possible, I believe.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Jay Smith's right side is looking like it's seen some better days.
Yeah, it's a little worrisome. If you can keep it under control, you should be okay.
Bells is sitting more uniform in the tire wear department. His right side looks like it will go at the same time. But everybody is keeping it nice and orderly too, which you love to see. Moving on over to Papa's perspective in P8. Yeah, it's close. It's anybody's race. One person screwing up could have catastrophic events that just unfold for the rest of the grid. And Papa is coming in hot. Will he be able to try and make a move on the hairpin? Ooh.
Oh, it's went wide. And,
a little bit of ping-ponging.
Yeah.
But good show to Papa for leaving Jay just enough room. And we will go and get an action replay from Moreno's perspective right now. All right, here they are coming into the hairpin. Everybody's getting a little bunched up together. Jay off the racing line to serve his penalty. Fantastic sportsmanship. And Marino outbreaks himself. Jay turns it a little early and has a little bit of rubble with Purple Nurple. Looks like nothing too catastrophic, but again, this is for the stewards to decide. So those in production, be sure to save this replay. This is going to be an interesting one, but it is action packed. As we see Marino and Purple Nurple going and having a nice little fight. I'm sorry, Leo, what was that?
Oh, nothing. I'm watching a good fight between Skeletor and Bells. They have been playing fisticuffs over here. They are
having a nice battle. Having a good battle for P3.
Oh. Yes, they are.
This is riveting.
Yeah. Like I said before, this track does lend to very close racing, and then you put the same car on it. This is the result of it.
Hats off to McNaughty for this one. This might actually be the highlight of the night. Those split 2 Division A racers have big shoes to fill. This set the bar really high. Oh my lord. All right, so Bells has a pretty decent lead right now over Purple Nurple because, oh, nope, never mind. Purple Nurple had a good run out of there. We shall see how this plays out over the next 2 laps. And into the penultimate lap, looks like Purple Nurple is going to try and send it up the outside on Bells, but might be able to get it done. And Papa is right there. P4 through 7 is all just bunched up magnificently. Oh, my apologies, 4 through 8. I just saw Jay right there. Yeah, no, this is, ooh, a little squirrely though, Bells. You gotta settle it down. You'll wind up having.
It's hard to do that on this car with no right tires on it, unfortunately. Oh, and Purple Nurple is off.
Yep, Purple Nurple has binned it, and Bells has ran wide.
P7.
Oh, everything is coming apart right now.
Oh, yep.
Let's see if we can see what happened to Purple Nurple just a moment ago. Oh, and Bells is gone. Yep. There's action left, right, and center. Ooh, yep. Understeered a bit, but it wasn't due to lack of tires. That might have just been a compression zone. Now, what position did Bells fall into after that left-hander?
P9, looks like.
P9? All right. Yeah, he had an unfortunate meeting with the Barry R a minute ago. All right, coming into the downhill portion, everything's looking like it's fine. Oh, ran wide and scraped that wall. And gave Papa the opportunity to take P5 from him. Yep. I think he might be demanding too much of his tires.
Yep, as we're coming into the final lap, I'm noticing everybody's getting a little more spread out, but they're still going at it like there's no tomorrow.
It does sure being the case. And Speedy Lee has pretty much ran away with this race, but moving down to battle for P2 between Jay Smith, Skeletor, and M. Marino. This one's anybody's game, and Papa is still trying to remind everybody, hey, I'm here. As it looks like Jay Smith's front left is about to check out here soon. And M. Marino and Papa are now having a battle for P4. Let's see what happens between Jay Smith and Skeletor here. They're close.
Oof.
That's really close. And Marino's, yeah, oh Lord. There's so much going on at once. It is honestly hard to keep track of.
I know. That's such close racing. I'm having problems looking for everybody because I'm looking at everything at once.
And Speedy Lee comes along to take the checkered flag, but this race is now decided by who had a better exit out the hairpin. We've got side-by-side action for P3. Oh my Lord, Jay Smith just holds on to P3. Oh, what a race! A race we just witnessed, folks. Oof. That was immaculate. Oh, we need a highlight reel of this. This was terrific.
I agree with you too, and that was so close. By a fender, maybe. I don't know.
I think that was a photo finish. I don't know, but either way, this was terrific racing. This is going to be a
Oh,
hard act to follow.
I have to agree with you on that one.
And congratulations to our victor, PHG Speedy Lee, for just a terrific race through and through. Oh my goodness. Now moving on to the tabulated results, we have PHG Speedy Lee in P1 with a personal fastest lap and the fastest lap of a 1:26.443. Coming in P2 is Skeletor 698 with a 1:26.576. And very, very close behind him is Jay Smith with a 1:26.527 personal fastest lap. But judging by the delta, it wasn't even a quarter of a second between Skeletor and Jay Smith. Those two were fighting head on until the end, as was M. Marino, who landed in fourth place with a personal best lap of 1:26.803. Rounding out our top five is Purple Nurple 88 with a personal fastest lap of 1:27.19. Then in P6 is PHG Papa with a 1:26.549 fastest lap. And in P7 we have Jay with a personal fastest lap of 1:26.882. And it looks like, judging by the delta, Jay was about half a second behind Papa. That was close. And then coming in P8 is Redneck C137 with a 1:26.991. Absolutely terrific work. Moving on over to P9, we have Bells with a personal best lap of 1:26.682. And in P10, we have Lewis with a personal best lap of 1:26.930. And judging by the delta for Bells and Lewis, it was close for them too. Like, this was a close race through and through for everybody. And as we move down the pack, you could see some people that were a little further back in the grid due to unfortunate circumstances, but it seems virtually everywhere you were able to go, you could have a close race. Because if you look at Beef Castle and Average Kurt, our P11 and 12 recipients respectively, they were just under half a second apart. And then moving further down into P13 and 14 with Smokes VR6V and Jack PHG SVG15, they were just under half a second as well. And they all, this was close no matter where you were. I agree with what some people were saying in the chat. This might be the race of the night. What are your thoughts, Leo?
I mean, as I'm looking at, Speedy Lee's time versus what Lewis's time, there's only a 0.50, like half a second on the deltas. I mean, that's crazy. That's insane to me that everybody is that close in racing, that they kept it together just well. I mean, it was fantastic.
I could not agree more. And I'm getting word from production that we have received quite a few donations. So let's see here. We've got a $10. We have a Oh my lord, we have a $50 donation from Fernando Button. We also have
Hey, would you look at that?
$10
That's
donation
awesome.
from Terry Hanshaw, a $5 donation that I can see from Joe Collins, and I'm sure there's quite a few more. But regardless, thank you all so very much for your support on behalf of the entire NRL. Now, moving on over to our interviews, we will start with our P3 recipient, Jay Smith. Jay Smith, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Can you hear me?
That sure can.
All right.
So, what were your thoughts on the car and track combination when you first saw them, as opposed to now that you've completed the race?
When I first saw it, I was kind of a little nervous because the Genesis is not my best car, and Deep Forest I don't have that much experience on. But after the race, same feelings pretty much. I still don't really like that combo, but it was very
That's
entertaining.
fair.
It was a good combo.
Yeah, that was just fantastic racing. Leo, do you have any questions?
Did you think the racing was going to be that close on this circuit with everybody else? I mean, it had to have been nerve-wracking to be out there with everybody just right on top of each other.
Yeah, the rolling start and those big straights makes a huge difference on how close the racing is. And I'm not surprised it was that close. I mean, all these guys and gals are very competitive, and it was good.
I'd have to agree with you on the I don't like the Genesis thing either. I'm not a big fan of it, but hey, yeah, you did great with it.
Thank you.
Now, before we let you go, what are your thoughts on like just the racing overall that you've seen just from this race and how it might set the precedent for the rest of the season? Are you excited for what you're going to see, or you feel a little nervous?
I mean, I like it. I know McNanny's got some pretty good combos up there in his head, and yeah, I'm excited.
Glad to hear. We're excited to see what the future has in store for all of this league. Thank you so much for your time, Jay Smith. Go take
Thank you,
you
too.
a well-deserved rest, and we will see you next week for some more racing action.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Moving on over to our P2 recipient is Skeletor 698. Yep, 698. Just trying to make sure I read that right. How are you doing, sir?
Good, and you guys?
Doing great. That was an amazing race we just witnessed. So
Thank you.
you were pretty much in a fight the entirety of the race. How was that for you, both physically and mentally?
Well, first and foremost, I'm going to thank Papa and the PhD group. They let me join the lobbies this last week. Get about four or five practice races in, so I kind of had an idea of what to expect. I raced Jay earlier in the week, so I knew he was going to be a tough battle. That was the first time I saw Jay Smith. So when I got to him, and I don't know if it's on you guys' end, but on my end, it was a little bit of skippiness. But I had to pick and choose when I was going to try and pass him based on his internet connection. And it took a little bit of toll on me. Still kind of shaking here of nerves and holy crapness.
That's perfectly understandable. Leo, do you have any questions?
I go pop a beer here.
Hey, you've earned it.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that one at all. I mean, me and you raced, what was it, last night? I believe so.
Yeah, I think we
And
raced yesterday afternoon.
yeah, I had no idea how to get this car around this track very well. And when we were in the middle of that race, you figured it out, I think. So it's not more of a question, it's more of a how do you get this thing around this track that easily?
Trust, intuition. I guess when you're on a wheel, you have a different feeling than a lot of people do with controllers. And I've had this Fanatec wheel just over a month now, and I've felt things a lot differently than I did with the former Logitech wheel. So I can kind of push it and feel if the back end or front end is going to push or slide a little bit more than the other. And then just downshift, upshift as quick as I need to in between.
Gotcha.
All
That's
right.
all we can do.
Yeah.
Now, before we let you go, with the amount of practice you did, if you had to give us like a rough estimate of like how many hours you put into this car and track combination, what would it be? And do you believe that that'll be like the commonality for your performances going forward through the season, or do you think this was just one that required a little more attention?
No, I think it's kind of like any track and car combo. The more practice you get in, the better you'll get. The more comfortable you'll be with the car and the track combo. The first race I did with Papa and his crew, I did not feel good. It did not feel good at all. I was like, oh, okay, I might get a top 5 out of this. So we'll see what I can do when the race time comes around. And I see the entry list. I'm like, well, might get a top 10. And then the more practice I did with the track, the more comfortable I got, and found some of my own weak points and pushed in places I shouldn't have, and got a top 2 out of it.
Yeah, that was fantastic. You go and relax, celebrate a well-earned P2, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, you guys. Have a good one.
Now, moving on to our Division B winner for Friday, PHG Speedy Lee. How are you doing?
Hey, good guys. What an exciting race, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, that was
So,
pretty intense in the beginning.
yeah, that was indeed really intense. So towards the end of the race, you pretty much ran away with it. How much time did you put in for this race in just terms of practicing?
Probably somewhere around 10, 15 hours throughout since last week, since he revealed it. Somewhere around
All right.
there. Yeah. I don't get a lot of time during the week. I just intermittently here and there, but it's nice to have the lobbies. Nice to have everybody like Papa in there, and we get a chance to race together so you can kind of see where you're at and get some pointers. That's what I love about this league. It's competitive, but it's friendly at the same time.
Right, and that is pretty hard to find these days. Leo, do you got any questions?
Yeah. What did you feel like that was the hardest about this race in particular that you ran away with pretty much?
Honestly, I got lucky and ran away with it because the guys behind me started fighting. Other than that, I think I would have been right in the mix with all of them. So I got lucky to run away, with a little bit of a lead there in that clean air. This race was, I mean, all the racers here were so good that we were all so close that, honestly, guys, I just got lucky to have that big of a lead for half of the race. Yep. Great
All right,
broadcast,
and
by the way. You guys, fantastic job tonight. Yep.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Now, before we let you go, given the close racing you've had, does it make you excited for the rest of the Division B races for this upcoming season?
Oh, I can't wait. Yeah, I'm so excited to see what Naughty has in store for us this week coming up and the following weeks. It should be really fun.
Glad to hear it. Well, thank you so much for your time. Go celebrate a well-earned victory, and we'll see you next week for the Division B race.
All right. Thanks, guys. God bless.
God bless. All right. Now, if you'll all please stay tuned, we are going to get these results all inputted and looking pretty for you all, and we will be taking a short intermission, and we will come back at you with some more action when we return. Welcome back, everybody. That was a fantastic race we just saw. Now it's time to go and take a look at the standings for tonight's Division B race. So, moving on over, we have Division... Oh, one moment. I'm just getting word from production that we will take a look at the Division B standings here momentarily. So, let's move on over to our second split for Division A for this evening. Now, as a refresher for those of you just tuning in or have just been mesmerized by that race we just witnessed, we are going to be over at Circuit Barcelona. We're at Catalunya. Oh, Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. There we go. With no chicane in the NSX Concept GT 2016 on the Racing Soft tires, with 11 times tire wear and 1 times fuel consumption. We will also have a grid start with false start check, a 5-minute qualifier, and heavy damage is on. This is going to be an interesting one regardless. Division A being in 2 splits, it's definitely going to give our folks in Split 2 the opportunity to take a look at what has been showcased before, and maybe they can get some last-minute adjustments. Now, moving on to the point spread. Since there are 2 splits, the point totals you see will be for both splits for Division A, so the fastest total time for Division A as a whole will receive 18 points, the second fastest will receive 17, the third fastest will receive 16, and each subsequent place will receive 1 point less per placement. And moving on to the driver lineup, for Split 2 we have Corridor 71, Deputy Fishtail, GSR Lacabre 809, MK Mascawala, Raider, Sugar Shuffles, also known as RJ, Wheat, Lutanus, and then VTX Blind Man GT and VTX Chippy. Their social presences are listed right under their names, and this is going to be actually a really tight one. I've seen some of Chippy's work, and he is definitely not one to scoff at, nor are RJ, Lacabre, or anybody else in this split. So, Leo, given the fact that we saw 2 drivers run on a no-stop, do you think we could expect to see that for Split 2, or do you think we might see people do more what the True Serum did and have a one-stopper and then be able to just slingshot the rest of the race?
You know, Toon, you kind of stole my idea for a question. I was going to ask you the same thing, but I'll answer it. I wonder if they learned, maybe the no stop is not necessarily worth it, as they watched, Shaggy and Talon lose quite a bit of time towards the end when everybody was on fresh tires. So questionable. I would be considering, changing them tires a lot more frequently now that I saw that it works, but you've got to be a certain type of person to deal with it.
Right. It's definitely not a decision to be taken lightly, but the 1 to 2 stops are also kind of close in terms of overall time, so I guess it all boils down to just comfort for the drivers. And speaking of our drivers, we're about to be witnessing qualifying for our final race of the evening, and this definitely is going to be nothing to scoff at, as we see VTX Blind Man GT coming on out of the pits. Let's make sure nobody's going to get a track limits infringement. Oh, that was an interesting way to come onto the track.
Yeah, I see Raider and Sugar Shot RJ got into it a little bit. I don't know if that's just a weird ghosting thing that happens when you're coming out of the pits like that. I don't know.
I'm not sure either. Well, better yet, how would the marshals even, or the stewards, I should say, as Lyman got a little squirrely there. Um, but how would the stewards look at any incidents during qualifying? And we're taking a look at VTX Blindman GT, part of Vertex Racing, on a manual transmission with a Logitech G29. You can find him on YouTube at Logan Kelly 9936. Yeah, just the overall, because we know the stewards will take a look at the footage post race, but what do they do if there's an incident for qualifying?
That's a very good question. I'm not entirely sure because that may have been just game related, unfortunately, which is out of everybody's control.
True.
I didn't see where it was intentional, so I don't know. I don't know the answer, unfortunately.
Nor do I. As we see Corridor starting his hot lap coming up into turn 1. Corridor is a free agent on a manual transmission using the Logitech G923. You can find him on YouTube at Corridor7110. Holding a nice line for this turn. Very nice, actually. That was buttery smooth. I like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, that was definitely the way to go around there. That was a good line that he held.
And Corridor is definitely a fast driver. I've seen how he does in some lobbies and also in some of the races. Corridor's definitely wearing that hardened veteran badge with pride. Coming into the braking zone.
That. I've raced him personally. I've raced him personally, and I can attest to he's a very fast person.
He's also, that's a very simplistic but quite nice to look at livery for his Honda. I like that. And La Cabra is back into the pits.
I am a fan of simple, and that right there is simple.
And the long left-hander approaching the penultimate corner. Ooh, just flying around there. I like that. Corridor's definitely on for an impressive lap right here. 31 with 32. Setting a 33.818, but there's still plenty of qualifying left. Chippy sets a 132.518. Currently taking pole. Looking at Sugar Shuffles himself, the mastermind behind many of the liveries you will see in this league, and one of the finest livery artists in the entire world. Coming in and sitting at P3 with a... can't really make heads or tails of that time. But either way, sitting in P3, a fantastic position so far. Let's see if he can snag himself a P2.
Dude, his last lap on second lap is a 1:33.565.
Ooh, good lap time.
Yes, very good.
Now, since you've done this, like this racing aspect of things, when it comes to qualifying, how important is it to try and avoid traffic?
I would say it's about 85%, to be honest. I personally do way better when I don't have to worry about anybody in front of me, behind me, beside me. That's usually when I find is the easiest to get the fastest lap time that I know I can do.
All right. And as we take a look at VTX Chippy, also part of Vertex Racing on a manual transmission with a controller, you can find him on YouTube at ChippyNZ. And just set another blinding lap.
Yeah, I would have to say I'd watch Chippy. He's scary quick, I would say.
Oh, yeah. And it looks like Raider has taken P3 off of RJ's hands for the moment, but only time will tell. As we take a look at La Cabra, part of Grove Street Racing. Wow, that was exuberant. I like that. Coming around this right-hander onto the back straight. As you can see, GSR La Cabra 809 is a part of Team Grove Street Racing and is using a manual transmission on a controller. And honestly, everybody in GSR, I don't think I've ever seen like a bad racer under the GSR banner. Same with
I'd have to agree with you too, and I have not either as well. I haven't come across a bunch of them, but the ones that I do know are fantastic drivers.
And La Cabra
And
comes
went
and takes
pole.
pole at the last second. You
Woo.
cannot underestimate Team Grove Street Racing in any shape, form, or fashion. My goodness. I think La Cabra
Do you think
did
they're
that
a
on
bunch
purpose.
of aliens?
Might be. They honestly might be, because I don't know. La Cabra went back into the pits, did the quick pit lap, and then at the last moment comes in and swoops P1. I'm thinking that was deliberate.
Like I said, I saw him in the back there, and like I was just explaining a little bit ago, sometimes it's just best to hang back and just send it.
Oh, I agree. Now, moving on to the tabulated qualifying results, we have Grove Street Racing's La Cabra 809 with the fastest lap at a 132.598. And in P2 for our starting grid, just 600ths on the dot behind him is Vertex Racing's Chippy. And in P3, rounding out our starting podium for this race will be Vertex Blind Man GT with a personal fastest lap of 132.766. Starting P4 will be Raider with a personal fastest lap of 133.411. Rounding out our top 5 for the starting grid will be Sugar Shuffles, also known as RJ, with a personal fastest lap of 133.490. Starting P6 will be Corridor 71 with a personal fastest lap of 133.604. And in P7 will be Deputy Fishtail with a personal fastest lap of 133.740. Moving down into P8 for our starting grid will be Sweet Lou Stainus with a personal fastest lap of 134.618. This is going to be a close race. Like, that starting grid is really close in terms of timing.
I second that tune. I mean, there's only a 2-second difference between P1 and P8, so I mean, it's going to be awfully close. I think whoever's pit strategy or what they decide to do for tires is going to make or break what's going on here.
Oh yeah, this is going to be one that pit strategy might dictate this entire race. Like, driver skill comes into this, but we have a lot of skilled drivers right here, so it's going to be hard telling until we see that checkered flag drop for the last time. But now it is time for us to get on to the start of our final race. These folks have seen what Split 1 did. Will they try and emulate it? Will they try and make their mark of their own merit? Only time will tell as we are about to get underway. Nobody jumping off the line, showing great pedal discipline.
Lights are out, let's go.
Nope, Chippy jumped
jumped the line.
Yep, just a nanosecond too soon, but it looks like he will bounce back from that as we are moving into turn 1. VTX Blind Man GT has taken P1.
Almost 3 wide into T1. That's crazy.
And La Cabra has taken P1 back from Blind Man for the moment with a beautiful cut of the corner in turn 1. Actually, no, I think that was turn 2. Moving into the long right-hander, coming up to the bridge. How will this play out? La Cabra braking and taking the inside line. Very well done. Can't expect anything less from Grove Street Racing. Moving up into the braking zone for the sharp left-hander, we see everybody close. We've got some almost door-to-door action going on right now. A little squirrely from Chippy, but he has plenty of time to bounce back. There's 18 laps of racing action ahead of us, and we hope that everybody viewing at home and our drivers will enjoy every single moment of it. Right up into the straightaway, we see that Deputy Fishtail is just under half a second behind Sugar Shuffles and has just actually way less than a quarter of a second lead over Chippy. So Chippy might be coming back to take some positions here in a few moments. Deputy Fishtail getting a little fishtaily, as we see Deputy Fishtail is a free agent on a manual transmission using the Thrustmaster T300 RS. You can find him at YouTube at Deputy_Fishtail. This is going to be very interesting to see. And other than Chippy, I don't think we've seen too many drastic position changes so far.
Yeah, you're right, Toon. I haven't seen too many crazy moves yet. I think that's going to happen later on down the line as the laps draw closer to that checker flag.
Yeah, if I had to choose like one word to describe the competitors for the racing league, it would have to be methodical. As we take a look at the onboard cam for Sweet Sanus, who is a free agent with the manual transmission using the Logitech G Pro wheel and getting a little squirrely while at it. I hope they don't suffer the same camera curse that you had last season.
Yeah, I did find myself doing that quite a bit while on camera.
Coming into the braking zone for the left-hander, looks like everything is in tip-top fashion. Sweet Lou is currently 7.5, almost 8 seconds behind P1, but there's tons of racing left to be had. I think once all of our drivers kind of get into that rhythm, we'll be seeing some shakeups in the standings, no less. Now, coming into the hairpin, we see Raider is still in P3, is about 2 seconds behind Blindman GT, and has RJ just by half a second. So I think Raider might have to start anticipating some moves if he wants to hold on to that P3 for the remainder of the race. And is flying into the final corner, oh my lord. With the fastest lap for the moment going to La Cabra with a 1:32.583, or is that a 6? I think that's it. 5:63, thank you, production. It seems that Raider was able to shake Sugar Shuffles off for just a teensy bit of time.
Not too bad though. He's got about a half-second lead on him and closing.
Right.
RJ's closing the gap. Just he's also a decently quick driver too. Not only can he make amazing-looking liveries, he's also decently quick.
Oh yeah,
hard to beat both.
Yeah, he's got the best of both worlds going on, and Raider is a free agent on a Fanatec DD Pro wheel, and is also making his NRL debut this season, I believe.
Oh.
And we're in lap 3, and looking at Raiders' tires, they're already starting to feel some of that abuse trying to shake off RJ.
Yeah, that's the bad part about battling this soon. It will wear the tires out very quickly, so I wonder how aggressive he's being with the tire wear.
Right, and if we take a look above in the infographic at the top of your screen, you can see 3 pit strategies that are likely to happen. We have a 5-6-7, a 6-6-6, and a 9-9, but as Split 1 showed us, these are definitely not definitive. We saw
definitely right.
We saw a victory on a 1-stop, and we saw a no-stop, and VTX Chippy is already in the pits. Pitting on, what would that be, lap 3?
No.
There might have been damage, and Raider might want to start considering how to defend while also being mindful of those tires, as La Cabra is currently running away from VTX Blindman, and is also that front left is going to be showing some wear eventually, but right now it's looking all right. And if some of the other Grove Street Racing drivers are any example, definitely ignore that tire wear because they're just going to run it. And currently a little over half a second off his fastest lap. Previous lap was a 1:33.322. So I think La Cabra is going to probably treat this as a bit of a time trial for at least a little bit, given the gap he has between himself and P2.
You know, as I'm going through the field, I'm looking at Chippy here in the pits. I don't know what he's got going on, but he's been there for a good minute. I hope nothing happened to him.
I too am curious. And it looks like Le Cabra's front left tire is about to give up the ghost here in the next turn or two. So, will we be seeing some pits in this coming lap? Will we see people staying out? Honestly, I'd be remiss if I just dismiss the idea of somebody doing a one stop. Which, given some of the drivers that we're seeing right now, just looking at them, I can kind of see a one-stop coming up as we jump on over to Sugar Shuffles, whose front left has decided it is night-night time, and the back left is going to be behind it shortly, and is currently trying to catch up to P3, and is doing it steadily, if I'm honest, and is also increasing that gap to Corridor, so looks like RJ's getting quite a bit of breathing room, which is good to see. And we know these are Group 2 cars. They're GT500 cars in real life. They have like their own special set of homologation. What would we see if we were to look at one of these in real life?
So from what I've researched with the GT500 cars, I think they're homologated to only having a 2-liter turbocharged engine and or twin charged, which means either supercharged and or turbocharged at the same time.
And Corridor's in the pits.
Couldn't find anything specifically on this car in general, but that would be their homologations for the vehicle. So you would think it'd be some high horsepower car, but it's actually just a 4-cylinder, which is honestly kind of crazy if you think about.
All right. And, Chippy is now out of the pits. I was starting to get concerned that Chippy was retiring for the race, but it's glad to see him back out there. I wonder if this was just a moment to get some hardware situated, get his wits about him. Who knows? But, yeah, can't wait to see what's in store for us in these upcoming laps.
Well, he's definitely got some ground to make up, though, that's for sure. I'm pretty sure he's down 2 laps, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, and Chippy has a half-second penalty at the moment. And, yeah, does have some ground to cover, because at this rate, Chippy is lapped traffic. So, only time will tell on if or when he bounces back. It might have been one of those just need to catch your breath kind of moments, but it's still too soon to tell.
Yeah, it's sometimes this thing can take a toll on you. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, and as our man in the car, I'm currently taking a look at the map, and it's a little spread out, but nothing too crazy. Is there any interesting battling going on at the moment?
Not that I can see. They're all pretty much spread out. Like I was saying earlier, I think that pit strategy is what's going to come down to play. Well,
right,
we both agreed on that.
Yeah, as we jump back to Raider, whose left side is down for the count. We'll see how that plays into account as he tries to go and take P2 off of VTX Blind Man. Coming into the bridge braking zone, taking a nice braking line, getting nice and close to that curb, finding his acceleration marker with a slight lift and then powering on. Good. See, with some of these cars, especially the GT2, I would assume they're quite torquey. So they're quite susceptible to like power oversteer or things of that nature. And since you did drive a GT2 in the last season, is that a safe assumption to where like they can be susceptible to power oversteer?
Oh, most definitely. I definitely experienced that a couple of times in that Audi that we were racing. I wonder if it's because they're like just completely chassied out cars and they're super light in the rear end that it does that to them. I'm not 100% positive, but yes, they do have a lot of power oversteer. If you give this thing too much throttle, you will kick the back end out.
Oh, and Sweet Lou has unfortunately landed a half-second track limit violation. Hopefully he will be able to bounce back from that and is able to kind of not really sweat it because Chippy's a little squirrely but flying right now.
Yeah,
And there is
Chippy is making ground up left and right. So I wonder.
Chippy has unlapped himself from Sweet Lou and still has Deputy Fishtail, Sugar Shuffles, Raider, VTX, Blindman GT, and LaCabra to contend with. I think the biggest contender for unlapping himself will be LaCabra, because LaCabra is just flying away right now. And judging by the Delta, Chippy has a 3-minute, 29-second gap to try and close. So only time will tell for Chippy in this race. I think if he plays his cards right, he could unlap himself and get a nice placement. As we jump back over to VTX Blindman GT, whose tires are just at the hospice. It's going to be interesting to see when or if he pits. Coming up towards the hairpin, taking a nice braking line and getting nice and snug onto that apex and belting it out. That is some racing that definitely shows people are practicing here, and it definitely also a good showcase as to why they're in this quality of racing, because they can hang in with the big leagues, and they are going into the pits for a tire change, as Raider will now get a P2 for his troubles. But how long will that last? Only time will tell. Seems Deputy Fishtail has also come into the pits. So,
I was gonna say, I've noticed that Raider and RJ have not. Oh no, never mind. My mistake. They have gone into the pits. I apologize.
Well, Raider has not gone into the pits, I believe. I haven't seen RJ go in either. I think the ones that have gone in at the moment are Chippy, Deputy Fishtail, Blindman, and Corridor. So I think LaCabra, Raider, Sugar Shuffles, and Sweet Lou all have stayed out. So half the field that we're aware of has pit. And it looks like Raider has been doing a pretty good job on conserving those tires. But he'll have to pick up the pace if he wants to try and catch up to LaCabra, who's currently 10, almost 11 seconds ahead, and is now about to be completely out in the tire department. It is still out racing. So it does beg the question, will LaCabra be taking... No, he will not. Never mind. I will not finish
He's
that
going in right now.
Yep, LaCabra is going into the pits, probably doing a 9 and 9. I was gonna, my thought, which was foolhardy of me to even think, was, will he be taking a page out of his teammate's playbook in Shaggy Doo? Raider is still out and has plenty of tires to spare. This has actually worked out in Raider's favor. But will Raider, with his current state of tires, be able to put a far enough gap between himself and the rest of the field that are in the pits to where he can try and buy himself a free pit stop? As we see Sweet Lou, RJ, and LaCabra in the pits, Chippy is back into the pits. And it looks like LaCabra is out and back on the prowl. We jump back to Corridor, who is at the moment a second and a half behind LaCabra. Let's see if Corridor will be able to stay right on LaCabra's tail and maybe, just maybe, have an upset for the rest of the field. Because this is the NRL, and as we all say, anything can happen. So it's gonna be down to the wire for this one for all of our drivers.
Yeah, as we saw earlier with the times and everything too, and we came to the conclusion that pit strategy is going to be the biggest, if not the determining factor. I think Raider may be, honestly, going for the no stop, is my feeling. But I may be wrong.
It is a bold strategy to consider.
Just like you earlier, going to take that statement back. He is going into the pits.
Good call. Good call. It looks like Chippy is hanging out in the pits. I wonder if it's damage related or if Chippy is just just hanging out. It's kind of impossible to tell, but Blind Man is now in P3 once again. Well, it looks like Blind Man also has quite a bit of time to make up to catch up to Corridor and Lacabra. All right, and Deputy Fishtail is now in 4th. Raider is out of the pits, now in P5. Looks like Sugar Shuffles is still in P6 for the time being. Who knows? That could change in an instant. Coming up into the braking zone, Blind Man takes a wide entry, gets close to that apex, and is slingshotting himself out. And now has Corridor hot in his sights, coming into the hard left.
Yeah, Blind Man's definitely got the tire advantage over Core right now. He is able to send that car through the corners confidently.
I wish I had a modicum of the confidence these folks have in this car. My lord, these...
You and me both, Toon. I'm not super confident when it comes to high downforce cars, unfortunately, but these guys are making it look like it's easy.
These guys are indeed some of the best in this game, and I love seeing them all pitted against each other with just some outlandish car and track combinations. And these car and track combinations that we see in this league are truly a breath of fresh air as Corridor is back into the pits.
Yeah, like, I mean, you don't see Group 2 cars on these tracks very often, like, through the dailies and stuff, and you know, it's nice to see this every now and again. Like, give us what we would like, you know, some hardcore racing, but I get it, you know, they gotta do what they gotta do, so.
Well, yes, and our only opportunity to see things like this is pretty much the Nations Cup, and even then, those Nations and Manufacturers Cup races, the only thing they have going for them is length. There's not like the level of difficulty that gets thrown at you with something like this league, where take one of the I think it was the finals or the semifinals. No, I believe it was the finals. Pretty much all assists were turned off and you had to make do with what you had. So, I don't know. This league is showing its colors as the pinnacle of GT7 league racing and possibly just racing in GT7 in general. And we've got 5 weeks of non-stop action ahead of us, folks. So make sure you stay tuned. You take any blood pressure medicine you need because, my lord, this will have your heart pounding and your blood pressure up there with excitement and adrenaline. This is, it's one of a kind, truly. As we see Raider coming into the final turn and is about to just fly onto Deputy Fishtail. And Chippy is still in the pits. Okay, so looks like Raider had a great run out and is rapidly closing on a Deputy Fishtail. Can he make a move over these next 2 turns? Taking a nice run in through the right-hander into the left-hander. Good, but not good enough, unfortunately. But I think if Raider can hold a tight line here, he might have Deputy Fishtail and that P3 under his belt. Flying on in. Will he yield? He's trying to send it up the middle.
Oh.
Ooh, slight nudge. Oh! That is not like this! That is going to be something for the stewards later on.
Definitely.
Let's take a better look at this. As we see Deputy Fishtail and Raider side by side, Raider shoots up the middle. Actually, there might not have been contact. Again, that is definitely for the stewards to take a look. As Deputy Fishtail falls into P5 and Sugar Shuffles takes a confident P4. Now, the question will be for the rest of the race, can Sugar Shuffles nab a podium off of Raider? Or even take it off of Blind Man? Depending on how the remainder of this race goes, we might see Sugar Shuffles in here for an interview, but only time will tell. And looks like Sugar Shuffles is 20 seconds off of Lacabra, so Lacabra is definitely running his own race at the moment. Good run out of the final turn. did RJ redline it to get some extra rotation in there?
That's what I saw on my screen. It looks like you can. I mean, it is a Honda, so rev it out to the moon if you can, I guess.
Yeah, thankfully the engines in this game can take quite a bit of punishment. As we see, Le Cabra is currently 11 seconds ahead of his closest competitor. My lord, Le Cabra is just dancing around this track. If I'm a season 1, oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, you could tell when someone's very confident in that track. They can make it look like they're having a ballet around it, pretty much, and make it look like it's nothing.
If I'm Le Cabra's GSR teammate and returning champion for this season, Mullet, I'd have my eye on him. Somebody might be here to usurp the throne. And it's going to be very interesting as this grid narrows down later on in the season to see who's going to be taking that crown home with them. As we see Le Cabra come into the braking zone for turn 1, a wide point of entry, getting a good amount of that curb, bouncing over the sausage nicely, as with the left-hander. Yeah, this is a masterclass in driving for this track. Those of you watching at home, those of you in the Saturday divisions, both A and B, and just division A and B for tonight, take notes. This is great. This is a masterclass in racing, and honestly, it's almost mesmerizing, if I'm honest. What about you, Leo?
Oh, that follows up with what I was saying earlier about it being like a ballet of sorts. I mean, he's just making it. He's taking every single line that he can, that he knows that he can, at the perfect time. It is like watching a masterpiece.
I can confidently say any of these drivers in this league, if they had the time and resources afforded to them like those in the World Tour, we'd be seeing their names up there on that stage easily.
No doubt.
If they had the resources that those World Tour drivers were given, oh, yeah, it'd be a totally different roster. As we come on down to Sweet Lou Sanus, who is 8 seconds behind Corridor at the moment. But there's still a few laps left, so there is potential for another position or two, depending on what transpires as Sweet Lou gets a little squirrely coming out of the hairpin. Into the right-hander, we shall see, down into first, and just feathering that throttle to get some rotation, and without compromising speed. Into the penultimate corner, taking a good portion of the inside, and very nicely done. Coming into the final turn, belting it out of there. What will the time be across the line? A 37.153, a respectable time. Definitely better than what I was able to throw down. Coming down into the braking zone. Holding it very, very nicely. Now checking in on Raider in P3, who currently has a 6-second lead over Sugar Shuffles, but is starting to be a little worse for wear in the tire department, but he has done a dynamite job keeping up with Blind Man and catching up. So we might see a heated battle for P2 in the next lap or so, depending on how Raider can balance these corners over the next lap and third, maybe? 2 1/3? It's hard to gauge with it's hard to gauge like percentages with these kinds of tracks.
Yeah, Toon, I was keeping an eye on the front runners here a little minute ago. Blind Man had about an 8-second lead to RJ and about 5 seconds to Raider, and that has come down drastically. So I wonder if those tires are not happy about life anymore, and they're saying, "Hey, I'm done. My job here is done. I gotta go," because they are steadily catching up quickly.
Oh yeah, and Corridor is catching up to Deputy Fishtail quite rapidly as well. we might see a move in turns
yeah.
1 through 3, but it's hard telling at this moment. Getting nice and close. Yeah, I think Corridor might be lining himself up for an overtake. Honestly, you might know more about this track than I do. What are like the prime overtaking zones for this track?
Of course, the front stretch of the track, the long straight. Through the S's of this track, no. The long right-hander that leads on to the long straight to the hairpin, that's also a good spot as well. Other than that,
Yeah,
everything else is kind of a little dicey, and I wouldn't do it personally, but...
Oh, and Corridor is coming too wide, but backs out. Will he have a good run to take? He will take Deputy Fishtail on the back straight, going into the hairpin in 3, 2, 1. And there it is. But will Deputy Fishtail be able to take the position back in the hairpin? It's looking like it, but might not be this go-around. So Corridor has been able to sneak in a P5 off of Deputy Fishtail, but I don't think Deputy Fishtail is going to be taking that line down.
We'll see. I mean, Deputy Fishtail's tires are also saying, I'm done too. So he may not be able to keep up with Corridor on that. Corridor has a lot more life on them as we speak.
Yep, and as we see Cabra dance around this track for the final time, currently has a 16-second lead over Vertex Racing's Blind Man GT. Coming into the second turn before the back straight, holding it quite nicely and moving on to the back straight. Downshifting into third and then up into fourth for some extra rotation, and is just flying at this moment. Coming into the hairpin, taking a good tight line and shooting out. Yeah, La Cabra's making light work of this track and his split two competitors. I thought I spoke too soon. He got a little squirrely right there, but luckily La Cabra does have enough of a lead to where he can make mistakes like that and not have to worry.
I've said the same thing once before, and that unfortunately bit me in the rear end, but it did not for La Cabra, so that's cool.
Oh, absolutely. He just danced around that and took P1 with enough time to stop, use the bathroom, get a bite to eat, and cross the line. As we see Blind Man GT come in with a healthy P2 with a confident lead over Raider, who is now crossing the line for P3. Moving on down to Sugar Shuffles, who is now about to claim P4. And Corridor 71 taking P5. Deputy Fishtail's not too far behind him, though, with P6 under his belt. Now it's just time to wait for Sweet Lou to come on through and bring it on home. Coming into the final corner, belting out into the start-finish straight. What will the final lap time be? It will be a 1:38.790. And now we just wait for the runoff to conclude, and we will be good to go. This was a dominant showing by La Cabra. Like, there's no other way to put it. That was a dominant showing.
Oh yeah, you could tell, as I was saying earlier, this must be his track that he likes, because he was definitely given the master class on how to get this car around here.
Oh yeah, and it's gonna be a good season for La Cabra and Grove Street as a whole. It's been a dominant showing by himself, his teammate in Shaggy, and then their teammate Mullet, our Season 2 champion, will be racing tomorrow, and only time will tell what's going to be up in store for them. This was fantastic.
Oh, it was great racing all the way around.
There's so many questions running through my head that I want to ask La Cabra when it's his time for the interview. It was fantastic. And Raider and Blind Man had a great fight for the podium as well. Like, pit strategies were just terrific all around. And looks like nobody got brave and wanted to do the no stopper, which is probably for the best. but I did love seeing that nose stopper from Talon and Shaggy. It was definitely completely out of left field.
Well, yeah, like I was saying earlier, I think that was only meant for a select few that know they could do that.
Yeah, it takes a special breed to do that. Absolutely terrific racing. I hope all of
Oh,
you at
yeah.
home have enjoyed the racing that you've seen tonight. And this is going to be, if this sets the pace for the rest of the season, this might be the best season yet for the NRL. Congratulations once again to Le Cabra, who had pole position and a clean race. But I don't see the fastest lap star. Interesting. As replays are saved, we will take a look. Oh, no, Le Cabra did have the fastest lap. That was odd. As we come into the tabulated results, taking P1 in dominant fashion is Grove Street Racing's Le Cabra 809 with a total race time of 28 minutes, 54 seconds, .624, and a fastest lap all around with a 132.583. Coming in P2 is Vertex Racing's Blind Man GT with a fastest lap of 133.811. Rounding out our podium for this evening will be Raider with a personal fastest lap of 133.875. Then coming in P4 will be Sugar Shuffles for our evening with a 134.1 dead with the personal fastest lap. And rounding out our top 5 for the evening will be Core 71 with a 133.565. Coming in P6 will be Deputy Fishtail with a 133.918. In P7 we have Sweet Lou Stanis with a 135.162. And rounding out our Grid 4 Split 2 for the evening is VTX Chippy with a personal fastest lap of 134.192. I'm getting word from production that we have a couple more super chats for the evening. Let's see here. $2 from William Lines. It says Redneck Runs Manual. And a $5 super chat from Viking Wolf. Great job to all the staff and Naughty and all the drivers. Thank you all so very much for your support. And I'm getting word from production that we have a $30 Venmo donation from William Evans. And thank you all so very much for your support. And this definitely helps our drivers and us here in production make sure that this is the best league that it can be. As we wait for some interviewees to file on in, I do want to also I'm getting word from production that I just want to remind everybody as well that this is 100% community funded, and every little bit goes a long way and helps ensure that our drivers are paid accordingly, us here in the commentary booth are paid accordingly, and our stewards, who will have a very long season ahead of them, are paid their fair share. Every little bit helps, and on behalf of the entire NRL, we thank you for your consideration. Now, moving on into our interviews, we will start with the race victor himself, Grove Street Racing's Le Cabra 809. Le Cabra, that was an amazing race. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, just delighted with the race, and just wanted to give a shout out to Mullet. It was because of him that I was able to get this one.
Oh, so you spent quite a bit of the week practicing with your fellow teammate in Mullet?
Yes, Mullet coached me throughout the whole week, and it definitely paid off. So shout out Mullet, you're the GOAT.
All right. Well, that's my question answered. Leo, have at it, buddy.
How how comfortable were you with this track after all of that practice with Mullet? Because it looked like you were just making this track look like a skating rink, like perfect lines everywhere, just making it look like a master class.
Yeah, like the best lap that I could do early in the week was like a 33.6, and just no confidence, terrible. But I don't know, but like the coaching sessions with Mullet like really help a lot. Like I gained more than a second. Like the fastest lap I was able to get on race was 32.5. So honestly, I don't like Catalunya because of the tire wear on the left side. But like if you put in the practice and I guess you have like a good mentor, good coach, you can be good at any track.
That's
Yeah,
honestly refreshing to hear. So, this is going to be a two-part question to round it out for you.
Mhm.
What was the coaching session with Mullet like? And given your results for this, race, will you be collaborating more with your GSR teammates and fellow competitors for the remainder of the season?
Yes. So for the first part, one of the things that he really helped me with a lot. I'm not gonna say everything because I don't know if he wants me to. But one of the
Great
things that
secret.
he helped me a lot with was being able to be better saving the tires. Like I just extended my braking points, and I never really broke fully like 100%. That saved the tires on the second stint. And yes, to answer the second part, I will continue to be practicing with Mole because this is my first win. I never won a Naughty League race, and like why change it? If it's not broken.
Absolutely.
I think we're
Well,
all there on that one.
oh yeah,
Hmm.
if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, congratulations on your hard-earned victory, and we can't wait to see what lies ahead for you in this coming season. You go take yourself a very well-deserved rest, and you go celebrate a hard-earned victory. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you guys for your work, and thank you, Magnotti, as well.
And moving on in for the next interview is our second place finisher, Vertex Racing's Blind Man GT. How are you doing, sir?
Hey guys, yeah, really good. It was an awesome race.
That was a great showing by you today. So, what were your thoughts coming into this league and coming into this race?
I'm coming into this knowing the tire wear, how high the wear was. It was definitely quite startling, but a bit of practice in there, just really trying to work out how to get the car around there safely with pace too. Yeah, it was a good challenge. It was good fun.
Glad to hear it. Leo, what questions might you have for our second place finisher this evening?
I was thinking towards the end, were you getting nervous at all that they were starting to slightly catch up to you or anything like that?
Oh, definitely. So I did my pit stop, and I think the gap was, it might have been 7 seconds, and it did it did quickly start coming down all the way to about 4 seconds, 3 seconds, and I'm like, oh no, he's catching. I got to really keep on it. And then yeah, luckily that gap did go up again a little bit, which relieved the nerves. But yeah, I definitely was worried there for a bit. Lap
Right.
13, 14, 15, I think, had me on my edge.
That was about the time I started looking. I was like, "Oh, he's got 8 seconds. They're
Yeah,
catching up
it
quick."
was coming down. He was doing well. Props to him.
So, one last question before we let you go. What are some of your key takeaways from this race that you're going to be mindful of moving forward in the season?
Definitely the tire wear and managing that. That's definitely something I'm thinking might pop up more throughout the season. And make sure I really keep an eye on that and try and develop that. Um, Also, the other drivers, they had really good pace. That qualifying session, that was quite close. So that's something to look out for too. Yeah, just the pace of these drivers, and it's great to be with them on track.
All right. Actually, I do have one final question because this just hit me and it is a burning question. Um, from just entering perspective, how does the racing here stack up with the races you might get in a daily or something like the Manufacturers or Nations Cup? Just in terms of like competitors and combinations.
Firstly, I don't think dailies or GCWS uses these Group 2 cars, so that definitely added another element. Other leagues I do, and again, daily races and that. Yeah, just the racing is a lot tighter in this league, I found. And you really have to be on it. You got to really be on your pace.
Well,
Yeah,
let that
I enjoyed racing here, and I've enjoyed I've enjoyed you guys having me here.
we're always happy to have you, and let that be a memo for all of you watching at home and those of you also just coming into the league. This is definitely unlike anything you've experienced before, and you will be a better driver at the end of it. Thank you so much for your time, Blind Man. Congratulations again on your P2, and we can't wait to see what you do next week. All right.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you for having me.
And I'm getting word from production that that will be our final interview for the evening. So please sit tight while we get everything tabulated and looking nice and pretty for you all. And we will come back at you after the break with the results in the standings and also a look at what we are up against for next week. Stay tuned. All right, everybody, welcome back. It has been an action-packed and edgier seat evening for everybody here. And it's been an amazing night. Definitely an amazing debut for Season 3 of the league. What do you think, Leo?
Oh man, yeah, it's been a fantastic start to the racing league. I couldn't ask for anything much better.
Neither can I. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty, shall we?
Oh, most definitely.
And I'm getting word that the standings will be revealed at a later date, post steward's inquiry, just to make sure everything is accurate for all of you sitting at home and for our drivers. So we will now be going into the upcoming races for this next week. Starting with Division B for Friday, we are going to be at the illustrious Red Bull Ring in the Honda 2x4 powered by RC213V. We're going to be there for 13 laps with the sports softs and sports hards available, with the sports hards required, with an astonishing 50 times fuel wear rate, or tire wear rate, my apologies, and a fuel consumption of 6 times with no tuning available, and the BOP will be on. This is gonna be a tricky one. 50 times is nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, that's up there quite a bit, Toon.
I'm pretty sure that's maxed, isn't it?
I believe so. Yes, it is.
That is absolutely crazy. Those drivers are gonna want to get practicing immediately. Hopefully they took some screenshots to get at least a rudimentary lobby up. Moving on over to Division A for next Friday, we will be seeing our illustrious A drivers at Fisherman's Ranch. It's a dirt race, folks. Y'all thought this was going to be easy. You're sorely mistaken. We're going to be there for 8 laps in the Ford F-150 SVT Raptor 2011 with no damage on dirt tires, no fuel, no tire, just a 10-minute qualifier, and you're getting at it. Hope y'all enjoy some rallying, because this is going to be, there's not going to be a tired eye in this one. My lord, dirt racing is one I'm not comfortable with. How about you, Leo?
I am actually pretty accustomed to it. I love dirt racing. I grew up around dirt tracks, and you gotta admit, you gotta turn right to go left sometimes, so.
Isn't that a line from Cars?
It is.
Okay. Well, either way, I'm sure some of you rally enthusiasts might feel a little upset, or, a little bummed that you're not getting to take part of the action, but, it's still going to be a spectacle to watch regardless. And for those of you that are not too fond of dirt racing, you might want to learn to at least acquire a taste. This one's going to be a hard one to choose, which will be trickier, if I'm honest, because I don't know, that Ford, I've tried it in the menu books. It's a tricky little bugger.
Yeah, if you're not used to have a truck, back end comes out on it again, even though it's 4-wheel drive, it still will put the power down to the rear, and it's if you're not used to it, then you may want to start practicing now.
Right. But either way, both of these races will be light work for our ever so talented world-class caliber drivers in this league, and I can't wait to see what kind of shenanigans they get up to in the week leading up to it. Now, for those of you unaware, we will be back here with you tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. GMT, and then round 2 will come at you next Friday on the 28th of on the 2nd of February at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then we will have our Saturday broadcast on Saturday, the 3rd of February at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. The rounds will be streamed right here on the McNaughty Gaming channel on YouTube. And I believe that is our broadcast for the evening. And honestly, it didn't even feel like we were here that long. It sort of just flew by. How about you, Leo?
Oh, it definitely did, Tune. I didn't even realize it was getting as late as it was because I was having way too much fun watching all this racing go down.
And you know that there's going to be practice lobbies up within the next 30 minutes for next week's series of races. Like
If they're
everybody's
not
going to be
already up,
yeah, probably. I would not
that's
be shocked.
I would
They'll
assume so.
they'll get the tracking car set up with like the rudimentary stuff we saw, and then they'll get the nitty gritty once that's posted on the Discord !Discord for those of you in chat. And just, yeah, it's going to be amazing to see how the rest of this season shapes up for all of our drivers. Do you have any expectations going into next week?
Not at the moment. I may have to get back to you on that one. I don't know what to think of either of those combinations. The little Honda car that's a single seater or whatever. That's going to be pretty interesting to see go around the Red Bull ring. With the tire wear being super high like it is, and then you go from that to off-roading.
I'm
I'm shocked, and I'm actually happy to see that used for once.
Yeah, I love the diversity in this league, and honestly, I might go buy a Honda just to get on track with them because this is going to be really fun to see and really fun to do. But either way, we'll stop taking up everybody's time. I've been Toon. He's been Leo. You can find me on YouTube and Twitch at V2Nix. You can find Leo here on YouTube at Leo2443, where he streams primarily Gran Turismo. I myself, over on the Twitch side of things, do more of a variety of things. And until next time, y'all be safe, and we'll catch you tomorrow for the Saturday broadcast. Bye-bye for now.